tower, into the tubes and coils behind your radio dial. It's like a welcome knock on the door and the sound of the familiar voice of an old friend.
Hey! Audio.
Synchronicity.
Life. You really mean that? Yes.
Monsters exist.
Yes. Yes, always.
I didn't ask for this. America's favorite breakfast-themed superhero, Waffle Man.
Your friend. This is a lot of shit, you know that.
Fire your contract.
Such pests.
I'm ready now. Roll the camera.
Now, what is it you want? In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want?
You are now synchronized.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir, here with another installment of Audio Synchronicity. Yes, it has been one full year since our last session, if you can believe that. And of course, joining me today is my one and only co-host for this special occasion. Give it up for the one and only Brayton Connors.
Yo-hos, Andres Perez, my friend, after 10 on again, off again years of doing this godforsaken program, are you prepared to say or tell us all what the phrase "you are now synchronized" actually means?
That people will have to wait for another 10 years, I'm afraid.
I guess it's better than being "you are now euthanized" at the end.
You know what? I've always believed that being able to synchronize audios is like essentially just a play on the fact that we're live. We have it's you and I. Our vibes are syncing with each other.
We're all in sync. We're all on the same level. Our streams are crossed, but not in a gay way.
Exactly. We draw a fine line between that. Let's see. So we're compatible in many ways. Drift compatible. I may bring that phrase 2013 phrase back into fashion.
Yeah, I've always maintained we're the perfect comic stylings duo, Andres Perez, both personality-wise, visually.
Duo.
We're a duo of dudes. A dudo. Well, that's not as good. That's not nearly as good. Forget I said that. Anyway, glad to be back.
Exactly. Let's see, we have JF in the chat. Well, now, this was certainly unexpected. What do you mean unexpected? We do this every year. Granted, we never tell you in advance when we do it, but we still do it.
It's not like we're some kind of Spanish Inquisition.
And we have S452 in the chat saying, welcome to the post-Shrek 25th anniversary world, you swamp rats. We got 6 months left until the Xbox and Halo and Todd McFarlane Shrek game turn 25, and Gears of War and Sonic 06 turns 20. S452, you shut the hell up. Stop making me feel old.
Wait a minute. You had me and you lost me at Todd McFarlane Shrek game?
Okay, so the movie tie-in game was a concept that maybe you might have been too young to remember. But back in the day, before we made tie-in mobile games, we made tie-in home console video games based off
ridiculous
movies.
Notion. Want to go to bed, old man. Eat your Jello.
You watched the
Grandpa's
movie.
Lost his mind.
You watched the movie. Now you can play the movie in your hands. So.
Well, let me say this for my first experience with that, because I'm not much of a gamer, but I was a little when I was younger.
Right.
My
Frogger
first
was your jam back in the day.
Frogger was my main squeeze, and still and always will be. But I had experience because I had an older brother, and he got this game. He rented the Revenge of the Sith game, which was out before the movie was released.
Right. Yeah.
So he played the entire event. He was one of those guys who you hear about like online who played the entire events of the film on video game in one night before any of us actually saw the motion picture.
Interesting.
What a huge loss that was. But anyway, Todd McFarlane and Shrek, my notion for what that would even look like is I had those, like, Todd McFarlane did a line of like toys, specifically of like his own original characters or ones he specifically made for the toys. So I'm picturing like a really heavily detailed, grotesque, monstrous ogre Shrek, like Chris Farley's version of Shrek, but with blood dripping from the fangs.
Let's
I'm
see. So
imagining his game was
yeah.
not that.
So basically, he did the concept art for, I believe, the enemies of the Shrek Xbox game, and it was
Yeah.
the only game made at the time. Now there's probably like a million Shrek games, but back then it was
Yeah.
just Shrek on the Xbox, and eventually I believe it came to GameCube as well. But yeah, it basically has almost nothing to do with the movie itself. It's just Shrek. Like Fiona was kidnapped by Merlin. Ignore the version from the third movie,
Yeah.
because third movie didn't happen. Fiona was kidnapped by Merlin, and now you got to beat up a bunch of public domain fairy tale nursery rhyme characters in order to save Fiona. But like it's a very strange game, and I highly recommend checking out Rebel Taxi's video on the Shrek game to
N-
get a better idea of what that game is like.
Not that I'm at all interested in living out my own fantasies through this, but is there a Shrek dating sim? There has to be at this point, right?
I feel like there's got to be at least
With
at
the
least
entire
like
meme revolution he went through, the
right,
a
the Shrek
decade
is
ago.
love, Shrek is life. Yeah,
Someone had
I-
to come along with that.
I'm
I would
sure
think.
someone has to at some point in time.
Not to make this all about Shrek, because I want to read more comments, and obviously we have topics tonight. But I was talking
Yes.
to a friend about this just yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and I wonder if you kind of feel the same way. My version of like, there's this whole notion of like looking back at the past generations, whatever
Mhm.
their popular characters were at the time, being like, wow, that was weird that my parents liked that. Let me sort of
Mhm.
reinterpret this through my own warped psychology. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, when growing up, like He-Man was kind of that. Like my love for He-Man stems from like the weird music videos and stuff that people. Exactly right. Don't cry out loud, Andres Perez.
And he prays.
So like,
Pray to save the day. Yeah.
so what I'm saying though is like I think personally, I don't mean to ruffle any
Yeah.
feathers. I think He-Man's
Yeah.
pretty stupid, but that's because I didn't grow up with He-Man. But my love for He-Man and my understanding of the character comes through that reinterpretation. I wonder if
Uh-huh.
like my nephew's generation kind of sees Shrek the same way, in that I grew up with
Mhm.
Shrek when I was a little kid, but by the
Yeah.
time the whole Shrek is love thing came around, I was kind of going into teenagehood and sort of out of my Shrek is love phase. But I wonder if he sees Shrek as like this weird, twisted, sexually provocative character that the internet's made him, rather than just a grumpy ogre who, wants people to stay off his lawn. I don't know.
I mean, look at the teaser for Shrek 5. It starts
That
off
answers
with-
my questions.
It starts with them literally acknowledging the Shrek sanity of
Yeah.
of the current popularity of Shrek.
A lot of Shrek pests. Well, that'll never come out, right? I mean,
I love the rumor that it was delayed because people online already guessed what the whole entire plot was going to be about.
yeah.
Just based on that teaser alone.
Well, I was wondering because all the pushback on the design itself, if it was going to be like a Sonic
Like a
situation.
Sonic situation. I doubt it. I mean, like it's definitely a more slightly cartoonier art style compared to the more
Mhm.
like grotesque, like intentionally grotesque, realistic, pseudo realistic vibes that the original quadrilogy had.
Yeah.
But I think that honestly, like the age of us people, like it's already hard enough to get people to go to the movies.
Yeah.
You got stuff like the Minecraft movie and the whole chicken jockey shit.
The inexplicable phenomenons. Yes.
You've got the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which did gangbusters. You have the Michael Jackson movie, which also people are going in droves to see. So
Yeah.
you got to do something at this point to really get people's interests. And I think for this generation of modern day moviegoers who are like there for like the experience of going absolutely nutso crazy to watch a movie,
I think a lot of it is like you have to manufacture a movement around like these big tentpole films because like Barbenheimer, it's the same thing,
Barbenheimer, yeah,
where people were
absolutely.
going not even necessarily to see the movies, but just to feel like a part of this online meme movement that was around the
Right.
films.
And that's really hard to do because, like, I'm
Yeah,
sure you've probably heard of the concept of like the monomyth, or where it's like everyone, like back in the day, we had far fewer choices in terms of what we were watching on TV, what we were
yeah,
watching in cinemas, what we were playing, what games we were playing. We were all essentially sort of experiencing the same cultural trends at the same time. Whereas nowadays, we're inundated with so many options. There's no telling what becomes popular, what
yeah.
is going to be the one thing that everyone gets involved in.
Yeah, it's a more frightening time to enter. It's the most frightening time to enter the entertainment industry, but also like we've talked about with relating that to the internet and things. It's not a case anymore where necessarily the cream rises to the top. It's because there
Mhm.
is just so much shit in this ocean. There's so many bottle caps thrown into this giant mountain that we're all fixated on. I feel like the Shrek mania has kind of subsided though, where I don't know if
Oh
that is
yeah,
going to.
because it's been overshadowed by the skibbity toilet
That's
phenomenon.
right. Right. Yes.
This you're gonna take. I know your nephews are most likely gonna like force you to take them to go see the skibbity toilet
They
movie.
have 6-7'd me, and I've never felt more shame and disownment over any family member before. But no, I mean the Skibbity Toilet movie, which I think Michael Bay is producing, or is that a
Yes,
rumor? Because I
I
believe
believe
that
he's
away.
producing it. Yeah.
There's that. There's the Back Rooms movie. Like
Oh yeah, it's still wild that that's a real movie.
there's a positive and a negative to all of this stuff because because it's so the system has no idea what to do anymore. The studios have
Hmm.
no clue about anything. So
Hmm.
it's great that we independent creators have an opportunity to kind of build our own industry. And
Yeah.
Markiplier had his movie that
Oh
people
yeah.
liked. So like a door is opened for us, but like there are so many people running for the same door and it's a traffic jam to get there. Um,
Mhm.
it's wild, man. I don't know. But I feel like there's the nostalgia for the Shrek memes that's really all that's gonna get
Yeah.
people fired up.
As much as I hate to admit it, I feel like if they really do, like, whenever a corporation delves into the meme culture, that ends up killing the meme outright.
Yes.
Kind of like what happened with it's Morbin time. They're like, oh
It's the equivalent of if you're an internet sensation going on Ellen, but
yeah.
way back in the day, it's like, okay, this is where the road stops for me. This is
And I
my
know for
end
a lot.
game.
I know for like old school Shrek fans out there, Generation Shreks, those people, they were groaned
Ew, I can't believe
heavily.
you just said that.
Hey man, it's never ogre.
Oh God.
Anyways, so they were hoping to get everyone excited. They were hoping to kickstart the Shrekening with that
Sure.
initial teaser, but the fandom said no, and they're like, "Ew, what is this? Why are you acknowledging the memes? It's not funny anymore. You're way out of date, old man. And why does Shrek look so weird?" So
Meanwhile, cut to you recreating the end of First Blood where you're saying, it's never ogre.
never ogre. But yeah, so it's like in a way, if you acknowledge it, you're considered cringe.
Yeah.
If you try to manufacture a chicken jockey scenario with Shrek, it may work. So it's sort of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of deal. It's like you said, it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Let's see, just looking at the comments over
Are
here.
they all skibbitying us? Are they all 6-7ing us? Are they?
Well, S452 says no one is seeing the new Star Wars Mando movie. Burger King and Blue Milk tie-in food has more interest in the movie itself. I mean, that's another. Oh, you know what? Actually, you raise a good point here. The Amazing Digital Circus. That's another internet online thing that took off like crazy.
Oh, right.
I think it was like an 8 or 9 episode CGI animated web show.
Yeah.
The first episode alone just like kickstarted this enormous wave. It was sort of like again like Skibidi Toilet, just this online product that
Yes.
a lot of people, kids and adults, latched onto, and it sort of like grew big to the point where the people can't even control their own rabid fandom anymore.
Well, I am so out of my depth and showing my own age with it, but it's like Five Nights at Freddy's was kind of a similar thing too, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Where it was
oh
like an
yeah,
inexplicable
absolutely.
phenomenon that just grew and grew and grew.
Oh yeah, and now that you've got 2 movies out there starring Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
That's right, Matthew. He kind of had a comeback with it. Good for him, if anything.
Yeah.
No, there's a shining light in even the steepest turd, and it's great that he's got his name back out there and is known that he's loved. Because
That's true.
he's one of the few actors I feel like who took on the role of a cartoon character and then was so identified with that character that he then got to become the natural heir to the cartoon by doing the voice for
which
Shaggy
is
ever
really
since,
wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's see here.
I think
Minecraft-
he had a cameo in the most recent Scream movie as well. Not as like a lead character, but he was in the background somewhere.
Oh,
in there.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, cinema, it's been in a weird place for quite a while now, especially like post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to say like what's going to happen, because at this point traditional media as a whole is sort of like turned upside down. Nobody's watching TV. Video game consoles are not really a thing anymore. It's just sort of become like iPhone upgrades at this point, where you barely see the difference anymore between generations. People are basically playing on PC now. Television has been dominated by streaming. Most people don't go to the movie theaters. Movies are like TV shows. TV shows are like movies. 30 Years of Darkness, mass hysteria.
And here we are still slugging it out on the internet, Andres. You and I still sifting through the storm.
I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, the science will always be sound. The audio will always be synchronized. This is
whatever the hell that means.
Yeah. This is a constant that the internet needs, or at least that we need. And that's why we are here today in a roundabout way for this intro section.
Oh my God. Well, I feel like we're kind of geniuses in the way that we're so half-assed about it anymore. Because if we were consumed by it, but like, think about yourself. Like, if you took the tact of like, once you hit 1,000 subscribers, you were like, okay, I'm going to go all in on YouTube. I think you kind of would have lost your way, like trying to play the internet game and go through this mass tidal wave over the last 10 years. It's an inexplicable force of chaos. And what we do is we take off a year or so between postings, and we come back and when it's convenient for us and when we can have fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like popularity, like playing the YouTube game was never really my thing. I only ever did stuff because A, I had a lot of free time on my hands, and B, it was fun to do. And so as I've grown older, as I've, gone through life and have other responsibilities and other priorities, YouTube has, I've mentioned this before on past live streams, YouTube took a what's the phrase?
Backseat.
Backseat, yes, thank you. YouTube took a backseat as I started focusing on other creative ventures. I'm out there writing comics, publishing novels, and now I'm a special features producer for Media Blasters. I've worked on Kamen Rider Dyad, I've worked on Garo Taiga, and now we are currently in the middle of the planning stages of working on Lady Battle Cop, which Media Blasters had just recently announced. So that is going to be another Blu-ray release under my belt that I'm very excited for.
The hits keep coming and the titles just keep getting stranger. Every time you and I talk, you drop a new show on me that has the greatest title I've ever heard. I never thought anything could ever top Mechanical Violator, and then you drop Lady Battle Cop.
Yes. It's pretty much exactly what you think it is. It's basically heavily inspired movie heavily inspired by RoboCop, written by a writer who would go on to heavily contribute to the Metal Heroes franchise, the very series that brought us VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs. And yeah, it's made for an adult audience. It's basically like a vigilante revenge movie about a woman whose boyfriend was working on a Battle Cop cyborg program. Eventually, his lab gets blown up by terrorists, and he and his girlfriend are caught in the accident. And with his dying strength, he saves his girlfriend's life by turning her into Lady Battle Cop before he passes away. And now Lady Battle Cop wants to go on a revenge quest to take down the terrorists who stole her life away.
Well, it's certainly sounding intriguing, but it's for sure no SWAT cats. I mean, you and I have already had that
Hey,
conversation.
SWAT cat in the time between our
My
last
SWAT
episode,
cats is still better
SWAT
than
Cat-
whatever the real show
SWAT Cats is back, motherfucker. It's
You're
back
kidding.
in comic form.
Oh, well, in Pog form. Yes.
Well, speaking of Pogs, you know who else is coming back in Pog form?
David Hasselhoff. What?
Primal
Oh my
Warrior
God!
Draco Azul.
Oh my lord.
So this is a project that I've been working on. I found this really amazing website called Custom Pogs, and I was able to produce a series of Draco Azul Pogs, featuring Draco Azul and the various Diablos he fought in the first issue. Artwork done by my friend and roommate Steve Tao, aka Raptor Gear. And I will be debuting these Pogs at Kaiju Brooklyn. So these will be a free giveaway. So for everyone, for every purchase of a Draco Azul item that you make, you get one free random Pog. And I happen to have a box where a little box you can stick your hand in, shuffle around.
Andres, careful. Where are we going here? What are we doing?
You will grab that one free Pog, and you get, like I said.
Yeah. So there is a cost involved for free Pogs. There's an exchange here that goes on where you're gonna have to stick your hand in a mystery box, and hey, whatever you pull out, man, it ain't on me.
That's on
It's a
you.
grab
Yeah,
bag. Yeah.
it's free.
You're out of your Pog loving mind. How you can't pass this opportunity up, people. Get his shit.
As well as we are going also, Dave, if you love the artwork that you see on these Pogs, we are also selling them as stickers for $1 and keychains for $15. Yeah, and hopefully if they arrive soon, we'll also be giving away figurines as well. So yeah, we got Pogs, we got stickers, we got keychains, us on top of the usual comics and comics and novels business. And speaking of novels, I will also be selling copies of Davis Madol's, aka Titan Koji's, new novel Titanius Book 1 and a special Kaiju Brooklyn edition of Book 2, Trials of Olympus. If you love Greek mythology and giant robots, this is the book for you. So I'll be selling a limited supply of Titanius Books 1 and 2, as well as a few Titanius plushies, which you can see in the background on the right side of that image.
I am really going to have to shop around for a trench coat big enough for you to fit all this crap in, Andres. What are you doing?
Yes. What I'm doing is I am entrepreneuring. I'm doing what the great sellers do. I am shilling the hell out of things because that is what I do, my friend.
That's the way the Andres do.
Let's see here. S452 says, what about the Draco Azul cookbook? You know what? That's the funny thing. Every IP has a cookbook. You know, Halo has a cookbook. Jurassic World has a cookbook. Street Fighter has a cookbook. And honestly, a Draco Azul cookbook isn't a bad idea. Though,
well, here's the pivotal question, though, and it's probably like, number 5 on the list of priorities to do this. Can you cook?
No, and that's
there you go. Okay. Therein lies a speed bump, but not something that's we can cross that hurdle. I'm sure. Just sell his likeness to Rachel Ray or something, and your book.
That's true. I'd be down to work with whoever can cook, and we can put together a Mexican cuisine themed Draco Azul cookbook. Let's see, Draco Azul the coloring book, Draco Azul the lunchbox, Draco Azul the flamethrower. The kids love that one.
Draco Azul, the Tide Pod, bring that back.
Yeah. And, so while we are added with the shilling, I will also mention that while I'm not debuting this at Kaiju Brooklyn, my artist Patrick Miura and I are currently in the works of creating the trade paperback version of Primal Warrior Dracozold Gaiden Hellfire, which will hopefully be debuting and being ready to sold in physical form at G-Fest over in Chicago this July. So if you enjoy the webtoon comic, which you can read for free right now, you want to own yourself a physical copy, we will be providing that, which will be 82 pages total, including a lot of the whole comic itself, on top of loads and loads of bonus artwork and commentary from Patrick and I, sharing our thought process during the development of this comic, this tribute to my time in Japan, this love letter to Gifu Prefecture.
How many mystery boxes do we have to reach inside of to get How many love letters do we have to pull out of your mystery box, Andres Perez?
Only time will tell.
Oh my God.
But in the meantime, over at
yes.
Kaiju Brooklyn, you can find the table that both me and Creature Preacher will be over at Kaiju Brooklyn. We are at table W29. And we'll be next to the one and only TJ Storm, the mocap actor for MonsterVerse Godzilla. So wherever you see him, you will see us. Where we will be, I'll be selling my comics and Draco merch, and Creature Preacher will be selling his assortment of 3D printed figures that he himself had modeled and printed and painted.
Now, is that an entrance or is that a public restroom next to you? Because either way, it's a win. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
It's the main entrance. It's left of the main entrance, right next to the left, or like in this case, the bottommost restroom. So again, look
dignity, always dignity.
I mean, when you want to go and you need something to read while you're doing your business, I mean, look no further than Draco Azul.
Read, not wipe with. Let's make that a clear point as well. and especially don't wipe and then come back and ask for his signature, because that's certain lines should not be crossed.
Rude.
It's just nasty, as they say. Yes.
Yep. Oh, and
Andres, I don't know how we segue from here, man. This is all.
Let's see. Speaking of stuff that's just not good.
Okay, well, all right, we're on the roll. Yes.
Speaking of things that are quite shitty, to say the least. Speaking of stuff that really needs to be sent to the crapper.
Flush this away.
Let's see. So who's going first?
Well, that's the point, because both of our things, I feel like both of our topics tonight come from a deep-seated cynicism and fed-upness. Do you want to go first? Because I'm afraid that my subject might spin us off into a whole bunch of different directions.
Oh, but, sure, yeah.
Maybe we should hop aboard the join the Mile High Club of the Complaint Organization and talk about the death, the non-resurrection, the pure death, the last nail in the coffin of the beloved, reviled Spirit Airlines, of which you have a history with.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So when I came back from Japan and I was traveling around to various conventions and other locations, I became very familiar with Spirit Airlines. Why? Because like many people, Spirit Airlines always provided the cheapest, like I'm talking dirt cheap compared to the competition, prices in comparison to your average airline. You can
really should have been their slogan, dirty flights done dirt cheap. I mean, I would have thought that
out. It's always them and Frontier Airlines. Those were always considered the budget airlines. Now, off the bat, Brayton, have you ever flown either Spirit or Frontier?
Those are like the only two I've avoided. I've gone in my past year or so. I've done both United and American Airlines. Delta, I've flown. No, I've never had the luxury of Spirit Airlines or Frontier.
Okay, so I'm going to be mostly focusing on Spirit because their flights were always more available than Frontier for me personally. Even when I relocated to Seattle, Washington, I still, when I'm looking for flights, up until recently, Spirit would show up from time to time, and they would always provide the most inconvenient of times. That's already one like warning flag there. But for me, I didn't care. I was just looking for cheap flights. And once I had purchased my tickets, that's when reality set in. So the reason why Spirit, for those of you who don't fly as often, the reason
Like a
why
Mr. T and the rest of you.
you ain't
Yes.
get on no plane, Hannibal.
No.
The reason why Spirit is so reviled is that they are deceptive about their prices. You'd think that they are cheaper compared to the competition until you realize that you have to pay for everything else that's normally included with your flight. You get like no drinks, no snacks, no entertainment, no cushiony seats. You have to pay extra for a carry-on item. You have to pay extra, like way more for a handheld item. But mostly what irked me the most is the baggage fees. So
For
if
like
you
a
were to carry
carry-on and a
for
checked
any
bag
other,
and everything. Yeah.
oh yeah, for a carry-on, that's like $100 right there.
Good God.
For a regular luggage, for most airlines, be it like United, what was it, JetBlue, American Airline, Delta, if your suitcase is over 80 pounds, that's considered overweight, and you would have to pay an extra fee for that. For Spirit Airlines, if your suitcase is over 50 pounds, which in most cases that's like half of your suitcase filled up,
Yeah.
that's considered overweight, and their overweight charges are significantly higher than everyone else's. So like I said, I'm coming in, I have a heavy suitcase filled with my inventory for conventions, and I'm bringing my carry-on banner, and my retractable banner. So the banner itself, I'm already paying $100 for that. I'm carrying my 80-pound. I'm carrying a suitcase that's already like another $100. It's overweight according to them, so that's another $100. And just to throw salt in the wounds, they want to charge you an extra fee if you want to be first in line to get into the airplane itself.
To step foot on the plane, we're not talking about like seat selection. We're talking if you
No.
want to go to the front of the line to step on the flight to get your
You
seat.
want seat selection, that's like another 100 right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of this is bundled into higher fare types. Like and I'm sure they have what is it, premium economy and like is it called what is their equivalent of like first class?
Let's see. I really don't, I think their first class just looks like normal economy for any other airline.
Well, I was gonna say like 50 pounds on Perez. What do you want to take them out of the sky with how their planes are built?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I will give them this. At no point has Spirit ever had a flight go down in their entire existence. So
wings have caught fire, though, correct? I've seen tape of wings on fire, engines on fire. I don't know, gremlins on said wings that are on fire.
I've seen hearts on fire.
Strong desire, yes.
Yeah.
But the main point of this is that the airline sold itself as a very inexpensive alternative, and then ask you to start paying money for every little creature comfort. Once they have once they have your hand in their master magic mystery box, they ask you to
snap it shut.
That's right.
Yeah. So you end up paying like double the amount. Like if you are carrying, because like when people travel, people carry a lot of shit with them.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a very light traveler, where like I'm talking like you carry on like a backpack that you shove under your seat, and that's
me. That's me because I also try to keep everything on my person too, because I am such a cheapskate. I am one of those people, but I should say that if I had to go through this whole falderall of like video game microtransactions for every little thing, I would be perfectly fed up too. I should point that out.
And that's why I have
people do get a sort of lower sticker price on things, but it's pushed further and further.
Oh yeah, it's like if you think you got like if you bought like a car for dirt cheap, but then you realize everything about it is broken, so you end up spending like 3 or 4 times more money than you spent actually repairing the car that you paid dirt cheap for.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's essentially it. You're paying essentially twice as much as you think you're getting when you're flying Spirit, and you are carrying the typical amount of luggage that most travelers are going traveling around with. So yeah, S452, they are pretty much the EA of air flights, and I've always had an intense hatred of them ever since I had used them multiple times, and it was sort of like a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, show what do you call it? Fool me 3
fool
times.
Me 2 or 3 times, I can't get fooled again. There's
Yeah. Fool me 3 times, you're officially that guy.
Yes. EA flights, it's in the scam, as the slogan goes.
So with that said, like the only other time I would ever use Spirit Airlines is if I'm traveling super light to visit a friend. Like I remember I visited Matt Denian a few times, and I would just like carry everything in like my backpack, and that's it. I just go, the Brayton Connor route. I just go, travel as light as possible, and just stuff all my underwear and shit in.
You gotta wear 3 pairs of underwear and pants on the plane. Anders. I'll never catch you. I'm just so I get onto the plane looking like a really big guy who just has really thin arms. That's kind of my...
Now here's the thing: if you are charging like Wi-Fi and like gourmet style food, it's like that. I understand. That's typical of any airline. But if you gotta charge money just for like a bag of cookies or whatever, or a bag of chips, it's like that's too far. So
do you have to pay a toll every time you have to take a crap too, and then the airplane?
I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that way, because things have gotten so bad. So as a result of numerous factors recently, especially the pandemic, Spirit had gone to some very hard financial times in the last couple of years. To the point where they had originally thought about having a merger at one point with Frontier Airlines. They were almost going to be bought out by another larger airline, but they were stopped by the government. And at certain points, I believe they were like in bankruptcy and try to get a loan from the government. They had tried to find any other means to stay afloat until eventually they decided they were going to be no more. Now, this was no surprise to me, but what was surprising was just how they executed them going out of business, which is basically they just went out of business, and they canceled everyone's flights in the middle of the night, told nobody this, not even their own employees. So like there was this one clip going around of this one guy who had been flying for Spirit for like 20, 30 years, and he was just told as they were about to land that he's not going to have a job anymore after they land.
Goody.
And so like, he's just giving an impassionate speech about what an honor it was to fly with everyone, and how he had always had a good time with Spirit, and just gonna keep him moving on in life and not let anything keep him down, and hope
he was
everyone
giving he was giving a goodbye speech like that.
Yes.
Remember that lady who worked at Walmart that became sort of a meme for a while, like, this is so and so after 20 years checking out of Walmart for the last time, talking to her radio or something.
Yeah, basically that. Now at first in my head, like if I was in the airplane and I'm hearing someone saying, well, this is gonna be it, guys, I'm thinking,
it's goodbye
fuck.
for all of us.
Oh no. Yeah, like you better pray to
assume
whatever
the
deity.
positions and get things right with your respective gods.
Yes. This one's for you, Spirit.
Everyone, if you look under your seat, you'll all find your own black box to record your goodbye messages for your family.
Yeah, so thankfully that did not happen, and so they landed, and you end up with lots and lots of people who are stuck at airlines because their flights were canceled, and Spirit Spirit wasn't going to give them no refunds, no travel and accommodations.
We're included.
No,
Oh my god.
nothing.
Good day,
Brayton.
sir.
Yeah, they get nothing. They lose. Good day, sir.
They just packed up the tent overnight and slung their bag over their shoulder on a stick and just ran off like the Music Man to another town. Ugh.
Yeah, just hop on that horse with no name and just start riding.
Yeah.
But I guess they were just like left to just go to whatever airline was still open, saying, "Hey, do you got any flights going to where I need to go? Like right fucking now."
Yeah.
I hate it. Like, here's the thing. So, like, this happened to me a lot. A lot of times, Spirit Airline would cancel their flights and readjust. Oh, like they will cancel your flight and set you up with a flight at a much later time. I'm talking like 5, if not like 10 hours later. And I remember that almost happened to me one time where I had a layover, and I remember there was this an elderly couple in front of me. They were going to Las Vegas and they were getting ready, except they were just told that their flight was delayed by 7 hours. And so I was like, oh God, I hope that's not me, because I'm going to Las Vegas I was going on the same flight as them, but Vegas was a layover for me. So I went up to the desk and they told me, oh, your flight is delayed. I was like, but I got a second flight. They're like, is it with Spirit? Yes, it is. And they're like, oh shit. Well, we cannot exactly delay your next flight. So they thankfully set me on another flight to Vegas so that I can catch that second flight. Now, that's normally not the case, but thankfully, no, but I have heard people just having these horrible delays, and like 3-hour delays have happened to me in the past whenever I would book a Spirit flight.
Well, and maybe you just mentioned this and I didn't hear you too, but like, was there a thing where I remember hearing about this where Spirit famously had really no like written agreements with other airlines where they couldn't just say, we can put you on a Delta or American, or it's that transition wouldn't be easy at all.
I don't think it would be easy at all, and they would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think like anything else, but yeah, that's basically it. So a lot of people pretty much had to fend for themselves upon like Spirit closing down. But the weirdest thing of all that came out after this news was that a lot of people started, like, of course, there's a lot of people online who are very sympathetic to everyone who were stuck up shit creek without a paddle,
without the proverbial paddle.
Yeah, the proverbial paddle, and everyone losing their job who worked at Spirits, who were losing their jobs. But a lot of people came to the defense of Spirit, saying like, oh my God, you guys, one of the cheapest possible routes, the cheapest options for traveling is gone, and this is all like greedy corporations trying to remove the cheapest options for people who can't afford to travel, yada yada yada, capitalism bad, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, look, I get where you guys are coming from, but there's still Frontier Airlines. We still have an option for dirt cheap, quote unquote dirt cheap airlines. Spirit isn't exactly dirt cheap and affordable for those who plan to travel on a budget. Again, considering, all the extra fees you got to pay, especially when it comes to luggage. And it's like, when like, I've heard nothing but people complain about Spirit for years. And all of a sudden, once it's down, I see all these people pop up on social media with like showing their bleeding hearts for a company that nobody liked until now.
Isn't that always the way when things go out of business, though? And like, what upsets me too is don't decry and defend rather and whine about the organization itself. Show your support for the workers who just lost their job and are out on the street or whatever. As you just laid out,
I understand. Yeah,
when the whole business model it's built around the unbundling like experience where the dirt cheap ticket is essentially just the bait to get you into a menu of add-ons, of DLC add-ons, as we said. For a specific flyer like you, someone who travels like that, I mean, it's easy for me who has one backpack, 3 sets of underwear, 5 sets of socks. I'm not I don't do that, folks. Please, if you see me on a flight and we're sitting next to each other, there's no need to worry. I'm not going
You're
to
gonna look
smell
like
up the whole flight.
you're gonna look like the people who do the 100 t-shirt challenge.
It's my gains, man. I just lift, bro. That's all it is. I chug that powdered crap that people drink before a heavy workout. But yeah, I mean, like, for those type of people, it genuinely could be a cheap alternative. But as you've said, you know, if you're a real person with real luggage, it's all smoke and mirrors, and it's all just a bait.
Yeah, so like I cannot have any sympathy. Like I have sympathy for everyone who was affected, but I cannot have sympathy for, as a whole, of Spirit Airlines going out of business. If anything, I'm just thinking to myself, and nothing of value was lost.
And you're there to dance on its grave.
Yes, I am. I am here to
Yes.
to celebrate the death of Spirit Airlines and their godforsaken, gaudy yellow airplane, piss yellow airplanes.
Do a little jig and yeah, pour one out for him. Were they the airline that stranded you and almost got you arrested in Canada? Were you flying them back then?
Oh no.
Okay.
When I used to live in Japan
Internationally?
internationally, yeah. When I was living internationally, I would never ever use Spirit, only because like Spirit was just not an option.
Uh-huh.
Spirit only ever operated with domestic flights within the United States, I believe.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah. I would usually rely on, what was it, like a Japanese airline like ANA, or I think it was JAL, or like a Air China. I would sometimes use that, or
Yeah.
like a Pacific. I think it was called Pacific Airway or Pacific Airlines, which was like a Hong Kong airline. So yeah, Hong Kong, China, Japan. I would normally use, on very rare occasions, American Airlines, only if like nothing else was available for me for the time that I needed to leave. But for the most part, no, that never happened. And so when I was stranded for 26 hours, 27 hours in a Canadian airport, that was not Spirit. That was by another company altogether.
Yeah.
Air Canada. I think that was Air Canada. There we go.
And I apologize on behalf of the nation.
I accept your apology. I have long since forgiven Canada.
With someone with like some please, Canada has had enough trouble over the last couple of years with this goddamn country. But this has got me sort of on with as many frequent flyer miles as you have tracked up, Andres Perez, of like country hopping in those days. Do you do any particularly flights from hell? Any nightmarish flights spring to mind as the worst you've ever been on?
See, the worst flights ever. The worst flights ever. I mean, like, I could easily say just like flying during COVID was like hell.
Oh, right.
Yeah, only because of just like how ridiculously overly complicated it was to fly from country to country at the time. So I remember at the time you would have to get a negative COVID test within 24 hours of your flight, and then you would have to have a signed paper saying that you got the negative results, and then you have to have another document that says you have to have another document that says that you signed the previous document. And let's see, and then when you are there, you take another one. What was it? This was like after the fact. So yeah, once you arrive at your destination, in usually in America or Japan, you take another one. You take another COVID test, then they put you in a saran wrapped van.
You showed me that. It looked like
Yes.
something from Chernobyl or something that they stuck you in. It was amazing.
Like they were treating you like a fucking biohazard, which I guess we technically were. And then we would be sent to a hotel. Oh, I remember at the time, like, what was it? At the time, the rules were constantly changing as it was happening. So I remember, depending on who you talk to, I talked to the airport staff, I talked to the airline staff, and I talked to the American airport stand. And I looked at the U.S. Embassy website. All of them gave completely different answers as to what I needed to do once I arrived back in Japan, because the thing is, you were supposed to have a mandatory stay at a hotel for 2 weeks until you're tested negative. And then from there on out, you are free to go, but you cannot use public transportation. So my big question was, if I'm flying into, say, Tokyo, how the fuck do I get back to my home city residence of Gifu City?
Yeah.
And no, everyone kept giving a different answer. And so I'm like, do I need to just get a taxi and a 3-hour taxi and pay out the ass for that? So yeah, once I was done, then they were like, oh yeah, you can just take transportation once you're done. I'm like, okay, thank you. I wish someone had wrote that down somewhere during my stay at the hotel. And also at the hotel, everything was in English, like a lot of grammatical
Oh my
errors.
god.
The instructions on how to go about using the apps that you were using is all done by like some dude
An intercom, right? Wouldn't it come over the intercom and it'd be
no.
like you were in one of those white collar prisons where they'd slide food under the door? Or did we ever talk about that on stream? I don't know if we've ever.
I don't think we ever talked about like being in a hotel for 2 hours. No, I don't think we
being
ever
a prisoner
about
of a foreign land. Maybe that's for another stream because that's such a big topic itself. But yeah, my God, the response you got every time you asked a question was someone sticking a Q-tip up your nose and down your throat, and shuffling you along.
It's like, what was it like? Remember from Monsters Inc? It was like the CCA or the CDA, and
you got a 2319.
2319. We got a 2319.
And they shaved you, and you had to prance out down the corridor naked with a sock on your back, and that didn't help.
Oh, thanks, guys. That was a close one.
You ought to just like pack a unfoldable bicycle next time, just to get from place to place. Just come prepared.
Probably, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not like Kamen Rider. I can't just transform into a bug man and magically summon a motorcycle out of nowhere.
And that's why, God's not real, is because we weren't born with that evolutionary trait. No, that sucks. Like I didn't fly by myself ever until about 2.5 years ago. But that would have been like, I was already so stressed to hell to even do that because I had a layover in Atlanta, which is like one of the country's largest airports. And, that was a situation where I was flying United, but my flight got changed like 3 different times within 30 minutes of my original departure time to come back home. So like, and I'm someone who gets, I'm very anal retentive about things, and I get hyper stressed and, alarmist about everything. So that wasn't good. I couldn't even fathom doing that in the throes of a worldwide pandemic. Hopefully something that is not to repeat itself in the next couple of years with certain cruise ships that are under heavy investigation at the moment. But I don't know. I'm not hoping for a sequel anytime soon to that headache. We're back by popular demand. What Muppet movie is that from? Is that from the Ricky Gervais Muppet movie?
That is from Muppets Most Wanted, the sequel to The Muppets.
Gotcha. Not to be confused with the Muppet movie. There's fucking eras. These eras.
Not to be confused with the TV show reboot of The
Muppets. Or to be confused with the Seth Rogen special reboot revival of The Muppets called The Muppet Show, which is not to be confused with the original Muppet Show. Good God. Are you talking about
the one that just had its pilot recently?
Yeah. Are they doing more? Because
So they did another. Oh, you're talking about the one where they had Sabrina Carpenter as the.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. which was rather faithful, I must say, especially in the production of the show. At least in terms of they recreated the entire intro. Yeah, I thought that was cute.
It's basically a proof of concept for potentially more like it in the future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but anyways, you just reminded me the worst layover I ever had. Traveling was in, I believe it was in, I want to say Shanghai airport, and only because they had it was like, I think an 8-hour, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 hour layover, which was like 5 or 6 hours too long. So like in the past, whenever I would fly to China for a layover, because the cheaper for anyone who wants to fly to Japan or to or from Japan, if you have a layover farther than your destination, that's actually going to be cheaper for you. So if you have a layover in China or in South Korea or in Hong Kong, or dare I say the Philippines, though I haven't heard good things about the Filipino airlines or like Pacific Islander airlines, only because I hear they get delayed heavily. But in any case, your flights will be cheaper, so keep that in mind. But I whenever I had flown in the past and had a layover in China in a Chinese airport, whether it's like I think it's usually Shanghai, I wouldn't stay there for long. But this time, because I was staying there for hours, it dawned on me just how badly censored their Wi-Fi is, because I had no access to YouTube, no access to Facebook, no access to Instagram, Twitter, Google, anything except like some like Chinese...
And then you realized, oh, I'm in North Korea. That's why.
Right.
That's what it's all about. Okay, now I understand. It's all clicking now.
It's at that moment that I truly realized what Chinese communism is truly like.
No TikTok. Ah! Oh wait, no. If it was Chinese communism, you would have TikTok. You wouldn't have
that would be
anything
my
else.
only form. It'd be TikTok and Billy.
Oh my god.
So I remember.
Wait a minute, what the fuck is Billy? Save that for another time. Button that. I need to know what the hell that is, because I have ideas of what that is that you and I would
Chinese
understand.
YouTube. That's all you need to know.
Okay, fascinating.
So basically, what helped me get through that? Oh, and the worst thing was they didn't have any like what was it? So like when I've been to like other countries, and they would allow me to spend my money, my US dollars, and they'll just give me change in their local currency. So if I'm in Hong Kong, I pay them in US dollars, I get a few coins, and hey, it's a souvenir right there.
Yeah.
But and at this particular airport, they did not accept US currency. My money was no good there, so I had to exchange my money for Chinese money and then use that Chinese money on just, whatever I can afford. So it was very inconvenient. And yeah, ultimately what I was gonna say is what helped me through, like, at least say like get through a couple hours, was just like going on to Skype, because that was the only app I could use to contact anyone. And so I was just chatting away with Dylan to help me just get through the time.
Who I'm sure was laughing at you the entire time.
Yes, he was.
I don't know about you, Andres, but this is a far more interesting tale than The Terminal. We need to remake it with you and tell the real story.
That would be interesting. Speaking of which, do you know The Terminal was based on a true story?
Yes, that's what we had this whole conversation, and the real story is different than fiction.
Yes, but did you know that guy passed away recently?
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. Apparently, he had attempted to go back to the airport, the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris.
Oh, they didn't shoot him, did they?
No. He just passed away living in the airport again.
Oh.
I forgot what exactly he died from. But I know that he is no longer with us. He passed away. For anyone who don't know, he spent I think 18 years living in that airport, because he claimed that he had lost his passport and papers were stolen. He was from Iran, and he wanted to go to the UK, or to Belgium at least. And he had this whole made up this whole story that his real father was actually from the UK, and that he is a bastard son, and he was disowned by his family upon the death of his mother, or his what he thought was his father. And a very sympathetic story. And he is legally he was said that he was no longer accepted. He was banned from his home country in Iran, and that he could not he couldn't go back home, but he couldn't
enter the US
and enter the UK, nor Paris nor France. So he was legally stuck in that airport. So he stayed there. He lived there for 18 whole years, even during when Spielberg like asked him for the rights to his life story to make the Terminal movie with Tom Hanks, and they paid him a shit ton of money, which he just like set aside in a bank in the airport, and he just like lived off of McDonald's and donations for like all that time. But eventually they found his papers. They found that his story is not true whatsoever, but he refused to acknowledge that he is that person in the documents. By that point, he was referring to himself as Sir Alfred something 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 or other. And so it's like, nope, that's not me. I'm not from Iran. I'm not Iranian. I don't speak Persian. I am of a UK citizen by birth, yada yada yada. And unless I am given citizenship, I am not leaving this airport whatsoever. And that was essentially half of his time. Oh, and most likely he did not have his paper stolen. Rather, he just dumped them somewhere in some like post office. But yeah, they found his papers, but it was a matter of just him choosing to stay there by choice until eventually he got sick. He was forcibly removed from the airport, sent to a hospital before he was eventually sent to a homeless shelter. And then in the time between 2008, I think, and now, nobody knew exactly what he had been up to, other than people vaguely assumed he was living in Paris. But eventually, I believe it was in 2022, he had returned to the airport, where he eventually died very shortly after.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry, but all I'm getting from this is that Spielberg really needs to check his sources whenever he's making a movie with Tom Hanks, because not the exact same thing, but a similar thing is the case with that Frank Abagnale Jr. guy in Catch Me If You Can, who Leonardo DiCaprio played, famous for being one of the longest running supposed successful fraudsters in history, and that he would pose as doctors and CIA agents and FBI agents. And he actually did end up working with the FBI as a consultant to some degree. He gives lectures, makes a lot of money off of his life story as, the uncaught for a certain amount of years young criminal, which more and more, all of that is coming out to be a load of tosh as well. Yeah, man. Truth, stranger than fiction, but fiction more watchable than truth, I guess.
True. Let's see. Just reading the Wikipedia article right here. Yeah, Nassiri's 18-year stay at the airport ended in July 2006 when he was hospitalized and his sitting place was dismantled. Towards the end of January 2007, he left the hospital and was looked after by the airport's branch of the French Red Cross. He was lodged for a few weeks in a hotel close to the airport. On March 6, 2007, he was transferred to an Emmaus charity reception center in Paris. From 2008 onwards, he lived in a Paris shelter, though in the wake of Nassiri's death in 2022, the Associated Press reported that he had recently returned to live at the airport. And then on November 12th, 2022, at the age of 76, Nassiri died of a heart attack at Terminal 2F of Charles de Gaulle Airport. Local police and a medical team
and they couldn't move the body.
His corpse could not be buried anywhere.
Oh my gosh!
It was held in the post office along with his money. Let's see. He was interred on December 8th, 2023. Let's see, in France. Okay, so he was buried in France at least.
In an unmarked grave. Right outside the post office. My God.
I do have to know, was he buried? What did his tombstone at least say Sir Alfred, as he hoped it would be?
I mean, that's gonna be in my will and testament. I don't know about you, but I mean I don't want people knowing my grave site, so I've got to come up with some kind of name. You will be, of course, buried. I will see to it if you go before me that it will say Kaiju Noir on your tombstone.
I mean, I could have something very pretentious. Like, you ever saw Bob Kane's tombstone? It's like the most.
I got away with it. Is that what it says?
kind of. He was like, if like, I got away with it thanks to the divine will of God. God allowed me to live on this earth to create Batman. Something
right.
in that
His
nature.
skeletal middle finger is right next to a photo of Bill Finger. That's
Here's for you, Bill.
a finger for a finger, a truth for a lie. Oh God.
Oh,
No, what does his say though?
Okay,
What?
I'm looking it up right now. Oh fuck. Okay, so here we go. Let's see here. Just like trying to make it readable and on my end. Let's see. God bestowed a dream. Oh no, Robert Kane, aka Bob Kane, October 24th, 1915 to November 3rd, 1998. God, all caps, bestowed a dream upon Bob Kane. Blessed with divine inspiration and a rich imagination, Bob created a legacy known as Batman. Introduced in a May 1939 comic book, Batman grew from a tiny acorn into an American icon. A hand of God creation, Batman and his world personify the eternal struggle of good versus evil, with God's law prevailing in the end. Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne, Batman. They are one and the same. Bob infused his dual identity character with his own attributes: goodness, kindness, compassion, sensitivity, generosity, intelligence,
This guy doesn't have a tombstone. He has a monument. What
courage, purity of spirits, a love of all mankind. Batman is known as the Dark Knight, but through his deeds he walks in the light of a higher power, as did his creator, Bob Kane.
To contrast this, I would just like to read for you Bill Finger's tombstone here, and it simply says finger. And he's buried next to, I guess, his wife Mildred or something. It says forever together, finger. My God.
Oh, wait, hold on, not finished. Beloved husband, father, grandfather, in loving memory.
No, I'm sure that's in the fine print at the very bottom. It's like the Wonka rules of conduct in Willy Wonka, where it's like the giant list of things. What does that say here at the bottom? Don't concern yourself with that. Let's move on. Oh my God. I don't mean to borrow a phrase from the internet, but conceited much, I think, springs to mind.
I guarantee you Bob Kane wrote that himself.
But those were his last words. You know,
yeah.
Someone just was there to dictate it all. That's all.
And I just shared with you the link of that tombstone.
Wow, that's pitiful. I mean, well, now seeing this, there's no other choice but to have that as your. Make it all about here lies the creator of Draco Azul, whose comic books are available at Comixology. There's no more fitting send-off, I believe. Wow.
Indeed.
Well, Andres, now that we spiraled off into this whirlwind of emotions and emotional damage and baggage and sacrilege by defaming the dead, which I say, you know, Bob Kane, I'm sure was a fun source of entertainment for some people, but yeah, it never missed an opportunity to take a photo op with a actor playing Batman. Never missed an opportunity to take credit for Batman on public television.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see a post-mortem celebrity death match between he and Bill Finger.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sure Bill Finger was waiting for that by 1998 in the afterlife.
Yeah. I'm sure Steve Ditko and Stanley's spirits have an arrangement amongst themselves.
I'm sure they also do. Yes. And Jack Kirby. Don't forget Jack
Kirby. Thank you. Yes.
Jack Kirby. Now that's a man who is always ready for a fight.
That's right. Kirby goes bananas, as someone would say. Yeah. Okay. Well. Rest in peace, Bob Kane. Rest in peace, Spirit Airlines. What's the Spirit Airlines?
Okay. Rest in peace, Sir Alfred.
The way that we cap this segment off, though, Andres, is you as a frequent flyer, as a loud and proud bemoaner of their legacy. Mm-hmm. Would you care to write the epitaph for Spirit Airlines for their tombstone?
Let's see. R.I.P. Spirit Airlines. Rest in piss.
Quote me, bitch. And it's just you at the bottom.
God bestowed a dream upon the creator, blessed with divine inspiration, created a legacy known as spirit.
God blessed with divine regret, smited Spirit Airlines. And here lies the pit of all its inadequacies.
With the dual identity of prices, with their own attributes, luggage, food, shelter, compassion, good seat, the quality seats, and all that junk.
That's right. See, what the CEO doesn't know is, there's a whole plan that he has to pay for that plot like 5 different times for all the amenities. Oh my god.
Tombstone not included. The corpses, travels, and accommodations not included.
You get and this is all written on like a stained Tombstone pizza box that accents its a marker there.
The pizza box had more preservatives than the corpse.
Oh my god. Well, we've certainly come in hot and spicy, I think, with this installment of Audio Synchronicity. What do we endanger ourselves more with the possibility of being taken off the air and strucken down by internet's copyright or not copyright language usage bots by actually talking about something a little heavy terms of
as a wise man once said, Brayton, make it so.
Go for it. Yeah, so I don't really know how to approach this other than saying that Brayton and Andres, but definitely I wanted to bemoan this as well, or just take a moment to be hoisted upon a soapbox to talk about stereotypes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Andres, put the shoe polish away, please. Dear God, this is not. I know this is an audio medium, so you definitely don't need it. You're not a dude playing another dude disguised as another
dude
who only breaks character for the Common Writer commentary tracks. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't really know how to approach this right off the bat, other than saying,
you know what grinds my gears?
You know what really bites my butt is gay stereotypes.
You know what annoyingly tickles my pickle?
Well, I mean, when people reach in your mystery box at convention panels, from what I heard, I don't know. You've got your dick in a box, some might say, on the Lonely Island. But no, I just wanted to talk because this is such like a weird area to get into, but I think it's an important one because you and I have expressed distaste with persistent stereotypes over the years, and it's not easy to talk about this without sounding very whiny and sanctimonious about it. But I should also just plainly state an obvious fact that I don't think it's film, entertainment, television, comics, books. I don't think it's media's job necessarily to teach empathy and teach, moral lessons and all that. But I think they're at their best when they do, and when they expose prejudices and they have messages. I think those movies, those pieces of media do more profoundly touch us. But I also believe that, people don't necessarily get their prejudices or stereotypes solely from movies. I think that stuff is taught more within their own environments in which they grow up. And then unfortunately they continue to act, accordingly with those prejudices.
It's very likely that when it comes to stereotypes, regardless of which ones they may be, it's I always see it as like, it's very likely like, maybe not malicious most of the time, but it could be more like subconscious. Just based on like you didn't know it was bad until someone pointed it out to you, because that was always just the norm for you and no one called it out on it.
Well, that's I think a prime thing I want to get into as well is just the premise of ignorance. Because if you're ignorant of something, and people when you call them out on this already take up a fighting stance because they associate ignorance with prejudice and bigotry and everything. There are loads of things about many cultures world over that I am so desperately ignorant of because I haven't taken the step forward to educate myself, and I haven't had someone necessarily in every situation to educate me. But and I feel you and I have had sort of a copacetic back and forth on certain things over the last few years. We've done that for each other in both of our respects.
Yeah, we've had questions for each other's backgrounds. And so, like, our just natural curiosity as well as our mutual respect for one another has allowed us to have civil and sometimes
Right.
not so civil, sometimes
Prickly
immature
discussions.
conversations. Of like just to satisfy our own curiosity and for us to actually like make an effort to be more understanding of each other and where each of us are coming from.
Yeah, I just
Um,
feel like that more broadly is a place of ignorance, I think, is more broadly the prime suspect for where a lot of the prejudices and hatred comes from. Because
mhm.
as the old trite and trode saying of, you hate what you don't understand, or you fear what you
Or
don't
you fear
understand.
what I think
Yes.
from a lot of cases, it's more fear
Right.
or just
That
like
manifests itself into
manifest. Yeah,
aggression and anger and hatred.
yeah.
Um, but
Hate leads
anyway,
to anger. Anger leads to suffering.
thank you, Gonzo. Yes, but what did Frank Oz do, Gonzo?
I want to say he did. Yeah. No. No. Wait. Was it?
See, now I'm
I'm
drawing
thinking
prejudice. I'm
I'm
now I'm
thinking
being not
Grover.
prejudiced.
I'm
Grover is the
Grover.
one who shares most closely, I think, the voice inflections with Jedi Master Yo-Yo Da, not to be confused with Yo-Yo Ma. Anyway, though, all of this in a roundabout way to say that I think film, what it can do and
It was
does is
steak goals.
Are you going to be talking the rest of the episode in Yoda voice?
Maybe I might do another Frank Oz character that you
No,
may
okay.
enjoy.
I'm cutting you off. You're cut off. You're still dangerous, Andres Perez, after all these years. I want to say though, what film can do and absolutely does is reflect those. It can reflect those stereotypes because and it's a reflection of the times and context. I mean, I like a lot of films, as I've made no secret of, from like the mid and early 20th century, and my God, stereotypes abound. But I hate that a lot of the uglier stuff does still persist. You and I had like a back and forth on Facebook before we jumped online about The Boys and shows like that, which I feel whenever it's great that there is representation for LGBTQ people. I should say I've made no secrets about this at all. Also, is that I am one. I belong to the club.
The fuck?
The fruity tree. Now, see, I ruined this whole thing. I've come on.
Now you tell me.
Sorry, I'm a card-carrying member of the Fruity Treehouse, Andres Perez.
God, after all the private sessions we've had, man.
Whoa,
all the
okay.
secrets that I've told you.
I kept my socks on after our private sessions. It was bro code. That stayed between us. You're dredging up uncomfortable.
We've done things.
I feel though that I don't know how to even approach this. Okay, I think movies are sort of they're the mirror, not the mold for prejudices and stereotypes. And I feel unfortunately now we're living in a very exhausting times in a very 2 steps forward, 5 steps back era, which I won't get into another rant, but I think it's plain to see every damn day with the bigotry of people in power and certain political positions that there's almost a permission for that ugliness to be made fashionable again. And I think there's a 2-side coin aspect to the representation that people in my orientation group do get in movies, specifically when it comes to genre fare. I kind of wanted to use this as a springboard to talk about gay stereotypes in horror and how we've kind of become the new kill the black character first in a lot of regards. And a lot of this springs from sort of I had mixed feelings, and a lot of it was ultimately disappointment. I should ask you first, have you seen the film that was all the rage last year? The horror film that was sweeping the nation, not Sinners, but the other one, Weapons. Have you seen that film as of
I
yet?
have unfortunately not. I knew there was a big hullabaloo about it. I knew there was like a lot of hype for it. I just never got around to seeing it, only because I rarely ever, if ever, go to the cinema these days. I probably go to the movie theaters probably once or twice a year, and even then it's probably just like if there's ever something new,
it's to throw live chickens and say chicken
throw live
jockey
chickens, say chicken jock, yeah, and
dressed in pink at Oppenheimer. You're one of the you're the problem. No, I should say though, you are aware of it, and in a lot of respects, I think it's a very fine and interesting film. And I really appreciate, the big thing people were making about it was the structure of the movie, how it's kind of that, non-linear storytelling, pulp fiction type of film, where it sort of it begins at the end, and each sort of character has their own segmented story, and there's a lot of telling the story from different point of views and all of that stuff. The tact and the style and the fashion in which the film is done is pretty remarkable. And it's an effective horror, sort of classic witch comes to town type of story in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
I'm made uncomfortable though, and I guess I'm very trepidatious about ever bringing this up because I sound like one of those what's the phrase people use now? Terminally online type of people who want to complain about everything and want to decry every like that bad things can't happen to good people in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Specifically though, like the great joy in that film for me was seeing like the principal character, who I believe it's the same actor who plays Doctor Strange's pal in the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah.
He's like the only character in that entire movie who has his head like screwed on straight, pun intended, but is like he's a responsible adult. He goes home, he has a partner who, they're a happy couple. They're like, that's one thing for me, is they're the one couple in the movie that aren't like estranged or don't have numerous things wrong in their own situationship. I felt that the sequence in which that they get killed, which happens in horror movies, the villain comes in, people get off one by one in that movie specifically in very horrific ways. I felt though that there was sort of a lingering and an exploitation in how this gay couple was dispatched in the movie.
That stood out from the rest of the movie, I presume.
Yes, and in not the sense that, in terms of like it's a gory film, like there are very shocking splattery things that do happen in the movie, but and I'm not against that even, because what can be done well in a horror film is worth doing, I think, in a lot of respects. But I think there's a boundary that's crossed in terms of execution when it comes to lingering on things, almost to the extent of making a joke out of it. Like the guy who I just mentioned, the principal character, is forced to kill his partner in a very shocking, very gruesome way that is lingered so long upon. It happened in my theater as to elicit sort of uncomfortable laughter from the audience. And I don't necessarily feel that this was an overt, vicariously living out your hatred or whatever by the director. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But I think it may come from a new sort of breed of ignorance, which is really an old ignorance in horror movies, in that there's always been, this argument has been levied at slasher films forever, is that there's sort of a puritanical attitude of like making the sinners pay in a horror movie.
Yeah. Like the teenagers go out and have sex.
Right.
Regardless of how they choose to go about it, the fact they indulge in their
sexual explicitness that they must be made to pay at the hands of a gruesome killer.
It's only the virgin, like the pure one, that gets to come out on top as the one survivor.
Yeah, and I understand where this is, these campfire stories, these ghost stories do emerge initially from, times where that mindset was far more prevalent. Your ancient religious texts and things is sort of it's like ground zero for all of these horror movies and where they spun from. I feel though that in horror specifically, there's been like a kick in recent years to have more representation, but that representation is always at a certain level where it's either we're dispatched or we're made the butt of a joke, or
you're pushed to the side to like a background character.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like the uncomfortableness where it's a lingering effect where we're killed. It Chapter 2 is another one. Like that's one of the other circumstances I can think of where that was the first scene of the movie, involved a pretty graphic and realistic hate crime, followed immediately by us being eaten by an interdimensional clown demon. And I feel like in horror, and like we've made such great leaps and bounds in terms of, other genres of stories and films, like drama. There are many great, gay love story dramas that have a happy ending for a change, because throughout film history, there's a very popular trope called the bury your gays trope, which is
Right.
inevitably every gay couple in a movie, one person must either commit suicide because they cannot atone with either societal pressures, or they can't persevere through all of that, or the couple must inevitably split up. There's no happy ending.
Yeah.
I think one of the groundbreaking things for me to see at a young age was a film like The Birdcage, where it's like the ultimate happy ending.
Yeah.
And a respectful, like long in the tooth couple, like that was really important for me to see at a younger age.
I'm sure.
I don't know why these positive portrayals can't like exist in the same space as genre fiction a lot of the times. Another example I know people like had a problem with at the time, and I'm against them having a problem with this, is the gay couple that appeared in either the second or the third Michael Myers reboot sequel. There was a couple living in the Myers house who were killed. And apparently they were like the most likable characters in the movie as well. But I get that because they're living in Michael's house, and that's par for the course in a Halloween film. But I'm kind of spiraling here, but you get what I'm saying, is that there, especially amongst genre films that are aimed at men and gore loving, like action loving audiences, it seems like this is one of the stereotypes, as well as we'll get into ones that you're made uncomfortable with, that still persevere throughout the ages. Like, I miss the days where gay characters were just lovable villains. Like, I'm all for villain gays in movies. I want more of that. I want more mustache twirling assless chap wearing villains in my fiction. But it's sort of a difficult tightrope to walk, because I imagine you would feel the same way about groups that you are associated with anyway, where it's like, I don't want to say that we can't be killed in a horror movie, because that's an equal opportunity thing where everybody should be on the table.
Oh, sure. And I'm sure that's going to be like the go-to defense of this sort of thing, where it's like, hey, anyone and everyone is capable of being a victim or having this kind of fucked up stuff happening to you in a movie. But
it's all an execution, though.
For sure. That's at the end of the day, you're right about that.
Pardon the term,
I just like thinking about it now. You had me thinking about The Boys. We mentioned that earlier, and how like they want to show how these superheroes, who are meant to be a commentary on just like on corporate greed and mocking celebrity culture, and how like, oh, this is all like debauchery, and they just get into all these fucked up sexcapades. And it's always just like for lack of a better term, usually it's involving like acts of homosexuality that is used to shame these individuals, or it's used as a cheap gag.
Right. Well, there's that scene specifically that I don't know if we need to describe in detail on a live stream, that I was made very aware of when it happened, about two people engaged in a sexual act, and then one expands and then explodes and glorious, gory disgustingness.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like there's just with The Boys, though, like we also talked about this back and forth on Messenger, is that that's something I couldn't get into, because it seemed like it certainly had a negative perception towards its gay characters, but I feel like that show in like the wider spectrum hated all of its characters.
I mean, here's the funny thing, like with the character of Queen Maeve, she is a bisexual character in a lesbian relationship, and they make a whole deal about like the moment that she is outed as gay, then suddenly the company that she works for, Vought, then tries to capitalize on it, saying like, look guys, we are pro LGBTQ. And she's like, hey, I like this, but it's like, I just want to live a normal life with my girlfriend. I didn't ask to be made into a symbol or of any kind. And it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, you got something there in terms of like being performative about like what sort of like moral, like trying to put on a very progressive false front for a corporation. But then it's like, at the end of the day, she loses her powers, and then she fucks off, and she's written out of the show completely. And it's like, okay, well, you had an interesting character
that was like an important, interesting thread that you could have followed through with.
But now she's no more, because haha, funny, explodey man gag now.
I wonder if stuff like that though is almost too close to serving the network. I mean, because who owns The Boys is an Amazon show, right?
Yes, it is.
Maybe there's too much of like a reflecting the dark truth back at its corporate masters in that sense of using a using someone who just wants to live their life as a corporate tool to put on a bright face for your entire organization.
Right.
I don't know.
Which was like Queen Maeve's whole deal, and what was it? And I can go more into it, but that's not besides the point. But going into what you were talking about here, it's like it also kind of reminds me, like slightly off topic. It kind of reminds me of how people felt when the first Jurassic World movie came out. If you remember, there was that one particular scene with that woman who was killed by the mosasaur and the pteranodon. The pteranodon.
Oh, right.
It was a very long, like for a lot of people, an uncomfortably long death scene for her of constantly being like picked up and drowned by this pterosaur, only to be snatched up, swallowed up whole by this mosasaur in a way that's like, for one, it feels really weird to give this such a horrific death to such a minor character, but also like not even the main villain gets to have that dramatic of a death.
And I feel like because it's so easy to sound like a prude when we talk about like that specifically, but like that stuff which can be deemed exploitive, I only deem exploitive when it doesn't match the rest of the context of the film. Like I'm all for all for the rights to make super violent genre monster whatever attack killer movies you want to make. I love a lot of the giallo films from Italy from the 1970s. Like a lot of Dario Argento stuff is really heavy in terms of the lingering on the kills, but like at the risk of sounding like such a prude, they're done very like you can't help but appreciate the art and the creativity that goes into it. It's like it is a legitimate sort of Buster Keaton act of like they're like gags, the inventiveness of the kills in such movies are part of the attraction to it. But also like surprisingly, a lot of his films had gay characters who were in the background to be sure, but weren't treated as fodder. Cannon fodder. But I think like an interesting topic that we can kind of take this in or direction we can pull it in is like what are the boxes that need to be, I guess, avoided for you? It's because it's a difficult tightrope to walk where like with villains, for example, Hispanic villains, let's say that, okay? Where are the points where you draw a line between this as being obviously a white guy wrote this who has something he's acting out here, but also saying like, some of the greatest villains in film are Hispanic,
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes.
Got his start in Mexican cinema, crossed over into American cinema. He is an absolute icon of a human being, of an actor.
Yes.
I would definitely say like my biggest pet peeve is the cartels. Now, as much as dangerous as the cartels are in real life, the fact that Hollywood continues to use them ad nauseum to the point where it seems like they're running the whole goddamn country of Mexico is quite ridiculous. And speaking of cartels, for something that tries to be representative of both LGBTQ representation and Mexican representation and failed to please no one. I'm sure, Brayton, you've heard
Emilia.
I'm talking about the one and only Emilia Perez. And it's inaccurate in on all fronts. But like the fact that it tries to, this also goes hand in hand with just the portrayal of Mexico in general, where you have this story focusing on a cartel drug lord who decides to fake his own death so that he can transition into a woman, and then some time later tries to integrate herself back into her old family under the guise of being the dead crime lord's sister, I believe. And
something to that effect,
Yeah, and then all manner of shit happens. But from everything that I've read about the movie, this movie it's essentially no, that was made by like a French director who had no knowledge of Mexican culture, of what Mexico is really like, or did not do any research whatsoever. Decided to have it set in Mexico because, and I have the quote here. Um, let's see. Several statements by the film's director generated controversy. In an interview, he implied that he had not studied the Mexican context in depth. No, I did not. I didn't study that much. What I had to understand, I already knew a little. In another interview, he stated, Spanish is a language of emerging countries, of modest countries, of poor people and migrants.
Oh, good lord. I didn't
And
even hear that. Oh my
yeah,
god.
like the fact that it's clear that he went in with a vision. It's a vision
Yeah.
that's unfortunately very common in Hollywood, where this vision that Mexico is this third world country
It's this
surround
generalized backdrop for violence in
violence.
media.
Yes, it's an easy backdrop for violence, exactly.
And
Of
corruption and,
corruption and poor people and all
yes.
this stuff. And the funny thing is, this movie takes place in Mexico City, which is by far one of the safest, most beautiful, most lavish cities in all of Mexico. It's the capital, for crying out loud, and
Yeah.
yet tries to make it look like it's like the dirtiest, dingiest, poorest hellhole on earth. And yeah, it wasn't even none of it was even filmed in Mexico to add
It
further salt to the wound.
it seems like a film written from the perspective of someone who's been like, "Oh yeah, I went to Mexico and only went to like Cancun for a couple
Yeah.
days." And then came back. I understand the lay of the land.
Another thing that also, like, in terms like the villains, just like I would say for a movie like Breaking Bad, which is clearly about the drug cartel, culture there,
Yeah.
between Mexico and America, I'd say it does a really fantastic job at portraying this very dangerous lifestyle for these characters.
Yeah.
Whether you have just absolute insane nut jobs like Tuco, or like the brilliant character like Gus,
Mhm.
or who was his name, the guy in the wheelchair, Hector.
Right.
These are all very interesting characters. Nacho from Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
These are all characters with actual personal histories. They have lives. Some of them have lives outside of of their drug business.
Yeah.
Some
And
of
like
them,
that's an example where like that is serving such a higher like type of story of, like 'cause
yes.
all of these characters too, like to an extent, maybe the exception of Tuco, they're Gus and Walter kind of being reflections of each other, both sort of trying to live trying to separate so desperately their work life from
Mhm.
their, civilian life and trying to keep up their fronts and everything. And
Yeah.
that's like telling a grander sort of Shakespearean kind of political fall story. It's more than just turning, even though it does the stereotypical thing of turning the entire country of Mexico orange,
Orange,
it's
yeah, the
not.
filter.
Yeah, I think it's a few steps up from just turning the country itself into cartel land, you know?
Right. It's not saying that all of Mexico is like this. It's just focusing on this one specific thing
Aspect
that
of
is
society, yeah.
aspect of society that is quite pretty much like divorced from everything else. You can see that these individuals really like do their businesses in private and only ever come make it a big public shootout when it escalates to that degree, where it's
Yeah.
everything is like a flight or what do you call it, life or death sort of situation. There's nuances here that you don't typically see in a lot of other projects, because again, they just want a generic cartel gang lord bad guy, get a
Yeah.
bunch of these Hispanic guys to be dressed up like cholos, even though cholos are more of a Los Angeles thing, not a Mexican thing, and really just have just put no care whatsoever. I think it was Bad Boys 3 that I saw in the theaters, and just they went to Mexico, and of course it's that same generic template to fight some generic cartel bad guys, but who cares, because Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are funny.
Yeah. I feel like it all circles back again to execution and the handling of such real issues, like that Amelia Perez touches on.
Yeah.
Um, it's very easy to undercut all of that with the aesthetic of a musical. Now, I'm not saying that
Oh, yeah,
musical
that's
clearly, there are very heavy, very realistic musicals that go into real dark places and are excellent.
yeah.
But because I love one of the greatest examples I always point to, and one that has been lampooned so often when it comes to like gang violence, is West Side
Yeah.
Story. Because West
Mhm,
Side Story, a lot of it is silly. Okay, a lot
mhm.
of the gang life as portrayed in West Side Story doesn't necessarily reflect the communities at the time, and we can talk about the
It's very
racial problems that
theatrical, you
brings
could
up.
say.
Very, I mean, just a lot of gay boys packed into tight pants. Anyway, now I'm getting lost in the weeds. But a lot of that can come off today very insensitive and superficial when
Mhm,
you're combating tones with wanting to do a proper musical and touching
mhm.
on all of these issues and offending everyone you're touching with them. Like
You
even
gotta be careful who you're touching.
yeah, there's just like a really bad sort of tension that comes with maybe your filmmaking ambitions and the actual execution, which really falls short.
Mhm,
The trans representation in the movie was entirely complicated itself as well because um, like on paper, Amelia Perez is doing something really bold.
mhm,
Which is like by centering a trans woman in a crime musical. I'm all for that on paper,
mhm,
but a lot of a lot of the advocacy groups, GLAAD especially,
mhm.
um,
I remember they came out against this movie, saying, like,
yeah,
how it's not
yes,
representative of the typical trans experience from what
no,
I've gathered.
it's an extremely regressive portrayal that I think is pretty deeply flawed, but I don't know how you
Mhm,
could necessarily fix within the movie that they gave us. Um, I think like that's a whole other issue too, which I'm of this community, but dear God, I'm not going to equate like my trials and tribulations with the trans community at all.
mhm,
Especially again, not to get political, but nowadays where there is such an overwhelming negative force against them.
mhm,
It's like it's an oversimplification of what being trans actually is from again my ignorant understanding.
mhm.
Um, and also that the film sort of treats the transition as like a narrative device. You're always going to, if you don't play that well, it's always going to come across as exploitive as well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of fucking issues with Amelia Perez. What I found amusing and kind of the victory lap about that though is it was such a like an Oscar bait darling. Not
Mhm.
necessarily from a lot of mainstream critics, but there was such hype around that movie.
Oh, that's how I first found out about the movie. I'm like, "Where the fuck did this movie come from?"
Why is the because all the Oscars are this is all they've ever been, but it's
Yeah.
especially amplified now with how desperate they're trying to remain with their relevancy, is that it's all an annoying like the political campaign push has nothing on an Oscar movie campaign push for me anyway within that circle.
Yeah.
Another thing I would relate it to is like Timothy Chalamet, who I don't think I've talked about here, but his recent movie about ping pong, Marty Supreme.
Mhm.
I was so happy to see like him not get the best. I don't think that film won a single award. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like an odd little vindication I get through of like having to put up with all of this buzz and crap around the shitty movie and this actor who has said some pretty shitty things. Kind of a similar feeling I had with Amelia Perez, where that
Mhm.
was such like a even though like on Rotten Tomatoes, on all of Letterboxd, all of the gauges that people use for internet discourse around film, it was
Mhm.
tanking like sub level ratings on all of those sites. But it was still being championed as well. Wait for the Golden Globes, wait for the Oscars, and I think it may have picked up one award there. But
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Emilia Perez, of the 13 nominations, the
dear
most
God,
the most nominations, the most it was the most nominated non-English language film, I guess of all time. And
crap.
let's see here. The main actress became the first openly transgendered actor to be nominated for an Oscar. Let's see. The film, okay, so of the 13 nominations, it won two. One
Okay,
one for Zoe Saldana, and one for the best supporting actress, and the other for best original song for El Mal.
Yes, which is what I had to invoke when you brought up the movie. One of the producers, someone used the opportunity to sing on stage a song.
Ah.
Yeah, one of the great cringe-worthy moments of the night.
Yeah, and
But
oh, by the way, that was the thing. The quote was when someone asked him, it's like because the movie features a lot of Spanish speak of people actors speaking Spanish, except majority of these actors are not fluent or native Spanish speakers. So all the Spanish has been criticized as sounding very unnatural. So when interviewers asked the director, "Why did you have these actors speak Spanish when that's not their language?" and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, because it's the language of the poor, the downtrodden, the
Oh.
struggling." That's where that quote came from.
He is doing himself no favors because so what I was going to sort of transition to is like
Yeah.
i- obviously the meat of everything I'm talking about is the topic of ignorance, and that is
Yes.
like
Ooh, that's
even if the intent of something is a good thing, like if they're
yeah.
not coming if they're coming this from a point or a perspective which is ignorant but not like dismissive,
Mhm.
but still missed the ball so drastically as was the case with Amelia Perez. And a lot of that has to do with, reinforcing these negative stereotypes we're talking about. Like, is there a a redemptive path for the filmmaker in question? And I don't think when they say things like that, there necessarily is an easy one.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that I feel like a film like that, when you try to engage with very specific like trauma that a transitioning person would have, or cultural trauma, even, and identity, and all of these big ideas and big real world things, but you
Mhm.
do it through a lens that smooths out a lot of the rough edges in it. All of that goodwill is going to be lost, and
Mhm.
all that you're really going to show the public. And the problem is on the shoulders of the filmmakers, not on us for interpreting this way, is that the representation is very aestheticized and simplified and harmful at the end of the day, instead of being honest and grounded. um yeah, I don't know. I feel like also there's a lot of outrage bait culture, though, to be fair with
Mhm.
like just talk I'm not talking about Amelia Perez, but any film, we've talked about this before, any film or comic book or anything that has a gay lead, a Mexican lead, a any
Mhm.
sort of minority lead, uh I think it's kind of unfair that they're sort of put in the crossfire of outrage bait.
Mhm.
But as you and I have said in the past, we kind of have the theory that sometimes, comic book studios or things like that, they're kind of doing that on purpose just to dredge up
Oh, yeah.
conversation around around their projects.
Oh, for sure, and it doesn't help that they're like, "This is the first insert,
Right.
description here actor in our movie. This is the first movie to feature a character of this specific background as the lead in this movie," and, of course, you're propping them up,
Yeah.
you're putting a lot of this burden, this responsibility on their shoulders. Like, I really sympathize for anyone associated with the Blue Beetle movie, which I was really happy to see
Oh yeah, yeah.
superhero movie with a whole Latin America with a Latin American lead, having a Latin American cast, having developed adapting a character who is Mexican American in the comics, in the DC comics. And but because we had so many characters with a lot of white leads, it's like if a movie with a white lead bombs, you're still going to get more movies with white leads. But
Yeah.
if a movie with a Latin American lead bombs or underperforms or just did okay, which was the case with Blue Beetle, I believe, then there's that expectation of, well, audiences simply don't want a movie with this sort of thing in it. And then
Yeah.
Hollywood proceeds not to do it again for quite a number of years, which honestly is, I feel, incredibly unfair. Um, and that's just the thing right there. You by saying like, look at this is the first thing with an all number of things. It's like, oh, for these actors, they're already trying to do their best to just do a good job with the material that they are given.
Yeah.
and now it is on them. The future of Mexican or Latin American representation.
It's all on you,
falls
Andres
It's all on
Perez.
you. If you fuck it up, you're fucking up for the rest of us.
We're all counting on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, it's really upsetting, and how studios are very happy to court all of this controversy, and especially with like foreign marketing and stuff. I feel like all of that is so intangible for us to get a grasp on. Like famously, the issues with Star Wars and putting Finn like on the poster, but taking him off of the poster in China because
Yeah.
China won't see movies with black people in them, or whatever the rationale behind that was.
Whenever they advertised Black Panther in foreign countries, they had to portray Black Panther with the mask on.
Oh, is that a thing too? Oh my god.
Oh
okay.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, on one hand, you cannot, like, obviously certain countries, certain demographics are going to have their biases. Unfortunately, that's just sort of like a matter of fact sort of deal. And on one hand, I understand, studios trying to placate towards specific preferences in
I
other
wonder how much of
countries.
that is manufactured though, because like again,
True,
you
because
can
that doesn't.
draw correlation like
Mhm.
between this or that or the other, but like how much is that almost reinforced by them not doing it, and them just like them not doing it because of
Yeah.
fear that it won't get butts in seat, if
I
you know
mean
what I
that
mean?
right. Like it is possible they could have just left Finn alone on and have the same poster but released in Chinese, in
I mean,
Mandarin,
it's Star
or
Wars. It's gonna do well regardless, especially
Cantonese.
with like a
Yeah,
tentpole film like that where people will see it. Like, it's
right.
not gonna hurt, your
Right.
viewership.
It does definitely call into question, was there any pushback? Was there anyone in China saying, "Nah, you got to change that. You got to hide that shit."
Yeah.
Or what was it, just like you said, was it just like sort of like paranoia think of just producers who just made the decision themselves without fully thinking things clearly?
Yeah, why did our last film fail here? Let's be racist white assholes ourselves and say it's for this reason. And well, they don't
Right.
like this. It's
Oh,
like
that,
it's the
that
weird sort of focus group culture,
yeah.
It's like we have to understand our own shortcomings, so we have to, make something the scapegoat for it.
Am I really out of touch? No, it's the
No,
children who are
it's the
wrong.
Chinese who are wrong.
Like that is definitely a thing. Like, whenever you hear people like these sort of like these out of touch producers, they'll be like, "Oh, clearly this movie was underperformed for A, B, and C reasons," when in
Yeah.
reality it was X, Y, and Z, but they're never gonna admit it was X, Y, and Z. They'd rather just blame A, B, and C.
Yeah, it's just such a cowardice, I feel like, especially from the companies like Disney, that corporation,
Mhm.
where they are all on the front, in June specifically, no other time of the year, so
Mhm.
progressive and so welcoming and so like waving the flag and
I
trumpeting the
wonder
horn.
why.
And then you get shit like this. They're such cowards, I don't respect it at all.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. There's a lot that gets lost in the online wars where it's just, stoking the flames to get people arguing. And a lot of that ignorance turns into violence and violent language. And it's just my God, what an ugly hellscape we've inherited these last
Yes.
post 2000.
Oh, you know what? You just reminded me something. Do you remember, or did you like, speaking of ignorance, this comes back
Yes.
to my wheelhouse. Do you ever heard of the controversy that DC Comics had during their series of Hispanic Heritage Month special comic book covers?
Oh, I don't believe so.
Okay, so during Hispanic Heritage Month, I believe this was 2022, I want to say. Let's see, I'm trying to look it up. This was 4 years ago, so yeah, 2022. They were doing a bunch of this. At first, it was like a neat little thing of like, oh, let's just do a series of special covers for certain comic book series, highlighting Latino characters, whether it was Blue Beetle, Hawkgirl, or Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern, who I guess was retconned to be half Latino.
Mhm.
But every single one of them was about food.
Oh,
Everything was
no.
about them eating a burrito, eating a taco,
Oh,
eating
no!
enchiladas. And so it's like, hey, you know what? Food is a pretty big deal in our culture, but I don't think you guys thought this through. But the worst offender was for Green Lantern, because
I'm looking at it now.
the Green Lantern. So like I'm gonna share this here. When it came to Green Lantern, the original person was going to do an homage to a famous painting that's even used on a lot of school textbooks, of this woman with the Mexican flag and like the eagle in the background, and then corn and crops representing like the history of their culture and their heritage. And in the final cover, they replaced the Mexican flag with a generic green flag that said Viva Mexico.
Viva Mexico!
Yeah, and Kyle Rayner holding a fucking bag of tamales. The old one just looks so much more majestic compared to this guy with a fucking grocery bag of tamales.
Oh my god. This is something that the Green Lantern would have to apologize for after posting on his X account or something. This is
Now, ultimately, apparently, like, due to the severe backlash this got from the Latin American comic book community,
I
they
hope
ended up
so.
reverting it back to the original one, and actually the
Yeah.
artist was allowed to finish it, and we ultimately got the final version. So that was a huge L that turned into a big win for us. So like for me, I will always tell my friends whenever, like, because people will still make videos about it, like, hey, did you know this weird shit happened? And I'm always like, 2022, never fucking forget.
Well, that's an especially like persistent tone deaf type of thing of reducing your entire culture to your food.
Yeah, whether it's either cartels or food, or
Food.
let me bring another third thing, and that is like immigration. Because
Oh man.
I remember for a time, anytime there was like a movie that was getting a lot of Oscar attention, or a movie getting a lot of buzz at film festivals, it was always about the suffering of illegal immigrants. Now, you can tell a story about illegal immigrants. Lord knows there's been dozens of movies, Sin Nombre being like one of the big ones. I even saw that movie in one of my like international film classes. But it got to a point where I noticed that like anytime there was like a big movie that earned a lot of praise from critics, it was about illegal immigrants. And I'm thinking, is this really the only story that Hollywood is willing to pay attention to or to listen to? Because it didn't bode well for me. It sent a really weird message to me as a Mexican growing up in SoCal, just saying like, oh, Hollywood doesn't like your story is not worth anything unless you've suffered a whole lot.
Yeah.
And in the case,
I think you and I, in a yet to be released podcast, we were talking about, when we were talking about Knives Out, we touched upon the character of Marta in that movie, who you express. I personally find her character in the movie to sort of subvert this, in that she is not reduced to a suffering immigrant story,
right?
And that or an illegal immigrant story. I know that's tricky terminology, but like with her mother sort of being weaponized by the Thromby family. I feel like that film, though, like she's there not to represent immigrants broadly or there to suffer. She is there to she is there as a polar opposite of this very rich, everything handed to them type of family. And,
very true. And it's definitely handled better, but the fact that they even bothered to include that element at all for sympathy points kind of like, again, goes back to my point of like, oh, how do we make this Latina character more sympathetic to the audience? Oh, I know, we'll throw immigration in there.
Yeah, I feel like it was unneeded because she's such an outsider to the family and all the other circumstances with her character for positive reasons, and as an outsider and is different from them, that I think that was a step too far. I'm just saying, like, the fact that it wasn't made her entire, agency in the story.
Oh, true. Yeah. It's like,
she's
I need this job, otherwise I'm going to get deported.
Right. It wasn't something like that. It was something like, I feel her as a character is there to expose many of their own ignorancies anyway.
Right.
But the thing with DC, though, what was their reaction? Did they largely downplay a lot of it, or did they ever make a formal apology, or what was the corporate
I mean,
reaction there?
outside of actually fixing it, of fixing the Green Lantern
Some of the
cover
covers, yeah.
and going back to the original version, they really just sort of like let everything else slide, because it was the Green Lantern cover that was getting like the brunt of the criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what was it? There was another time when Marvel had like another thing where they had like it was a compilation book of it was like, what was it? Yeah, it was an anthology book featuring all their Latino characters, and it like I forgot if it was like one story or like the cover story that was the title was like Latinx and Proud, and already the Latino community fucking hate the
We've
term
had the
Latinx.
Latinx conversation before.
Yes, before, yes. This is, and like, thank God, like I'm pretty sure nobody has used that for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But this was like a case where like this was a term made by non-Latin Americans in an attempt to correct a problem that Latinos didn't, that like trying to correct a problem that wasn't there to begin with.
Yeah.
And the majority of that story is just these characters lecturing to other Latin American characters why they should start using this using this terminology or language or whatnot. And that definitely did not bode well with Latin American comic book readers. But I would say that controversy is like nothing compared to the DC one.
Yeah,
But
no, but like, what are like, because that's a big thing though, that like a stereotype that I think it's often overlooked is reducing you guys to, well, their food's good. I think it's a similar type of thing. I think to like not to the like such a larger extent because Mexico's a North American country, but like China, sort of a similar thing. Well, I know a good Chinese restaurant. Like there's that sort of pervasive, when people think of China, they think of chopsticks. When people think of Mexico, they think of tacos.
And burritos. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just so weird that it's like, if this was like an ongoing series, like, oh, every month is a different theme, like, sure, okay. But like for Latin America, you chose food of all things that's going to be the prevailing theme for every single one of your Latino characters. Or like, I'm thinking to myself,
do you need anything for Bane? Does he have I mean, he's a luchador.
Yes,
you don't need anything else.
They made a comment. They made a cover with Bane as well.
Oh my god! I want him guiltily eating like a Taco Bell in a corner, just like he's not even. He's a traitor. Then again, let's also say, Andres, you do your stereotypes no help with your Taco Bell habits. As soon as you step foot in America after a long Japanese stay.
That's a personal lifestyle choice, okay? I am in some
cases. Do I come into your house and tell you what to eat over your bed?
Yeah. I'm like, sometimes Brayton, stereotypes exist for a reason, okay? That's all I'll say.
They're rooted in something, and I guess like as a capper for this whole conversation is like where stereotypes draw the line with things. I mean, I think for a lot of right reasons we've moved beyond, like the race swapping in terms of actors. I think that's a good thing. That is an almost entirely extinct practice. I guess there's a lot of kickback from straight actors portraying LGBT characters in film and television, because it's almost like are you familiar with the term gay baiting of sort of like Harry Styles? I think is the prime suspect.
I've heard that.
I don't like the one thing that has swept the nation and the world internationally, and it's a pride of Canada that it was produced in Canada, is Heated Rivalry, which came out last year and was a massive sensation for a lot of good reasons. I have complicated feelings about some of it because I think it's a really well done, honest love story that's beautifully told and directed within an inch of its life. But the big takeaway is, how hot is that sex, huh? And like, I hate that that's kind of been made like the front, selling point of it is like there's so much spicy sex in this show you won't believe it. I think that's sort of another reductive thing for gay romances in fiction, and just like a gay stereotype itself is that we're all sort of trashy, sex obsessed Neanderthals who can't wait to get a hold of each other. And I think people take the
Men.
believe it or not, that is a problem. I'm not saying it's not an issue with a lot of relationships in the gay community, because I mean, you think about how bad one man is about sex, and you put two of them together. I mean, it's a mess. But I just hate that that's sort of been the selling point for the show, when there is so much more going on between. I mean, it's more of a show about cultures, in a way, of a man from Russia and a very shunned upon society falling for a man in a more open country. And there are so many more levels going on in that story that I hate that is the prevailing takeaway people have from it. If it gets eyes to watch it, whatever, because at least maybe subliminally they'll get something quality out of it by having to sit through the parts that aren't taught in heavy sex scenes. But I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, are you someone who, if it gets someone to watch the thing, like, is it ultimately a victory in the sense that at least they watched it? Like, if someone comes to a Mexican produced film or television series, whatever have you, and it's like the hottest new crime show or whatever, is it almost like a catch-22 or a 50-50 split, where it's like, well, there are a lot of great things in this show. It does have this one harmful stereotype, but at least that kind of lures them in to watch it for the rest of the show. Do you know what I'm kind of saying?
Oh yeah. It's definitely sort of like a choose your battles, or sort of like
die on whatever hill,
Yeah, take what you can get and hope that this can lead to better things down the line.
Yeah.
I would definitely say, like we were talking again about like Breaking Bad, and it's the idea of these these incredibly talented Latin American actors portraying cartel drug dealer bosses. But hey, it's so fucking good that and everyone is watching it, everyone loves it, everyone fucking loves and quotes and memes these characters. It's like, I see that as a victory in the long run.
Breaking Bad's, that's like a 20-year old show at this point, isn't it? When did that show come out?
Jesus
My God,
Christ.
time has
I
flown.
want to say, no, it's got to be at least at least 2008. When did Breaking Bad start?
Let me see. Yes, January 20th, 2008. We're coming up on 20 years.
Yeah. Fuck, it's been 18 years. Seriously. Goddamn. And I was already getting this old. I was already getting this having this existential crisis when a lot of the old school emo rock from the early to mid 2000s is turning 20 years old. It's now considered shit like Weezer. Brayton is considered dad rock now.
Yeah.
Back in my day, dad rock was Aerosmith and AC/DC and Metallica, and now it's fucking My Chemical Romance.
Well, I think this kind of brings us back into a great way for any
All
type
American
of thing of
rejects.
circling back to things we can't believe are nostalgic now. It's like I see on Instagram people doing people would do gag, they would dress up like it's the 1950s or the 80s, and how wacky that is. People are dressing up now as it's as if it's 2007 or something, and they have the Aeropostale polos on with the acid wash jeans and everything. And I'm like, we're nostalgic about 2007 now, that we're treating this as a period piece, because there are films now set in 2001 that are considered period pieces now in movies. I can't believe it.
Remember that Pixar movie? What was it called? Turning Red is a period piece set in the early 2000s, because they're all into boy bands in a pre K-pop world.
Yeah, I'm wondering where that was it also you have to keep in mind the SOS 10th anniversary. Was that kind of a moment for you where it's oh my God, it's been a decade?
Oh yeah.
Holy
And
crap.
just listening to what we were talking about, what we were getting all up in arms about, it's fuck, man.
Yeah,
that was a ancient forever ago history.
They're great time capsules though, because 1 week you guys will be talking about Tusk and how that just came out, and then the next week you'll be talking about God knows what. What's another archaic thing you guys would talk about? The Death Battle stuff, when that was all the rage.
Oh yeah. Well, wait, I think Death Battle is still technically going on, but nowadays the company
I don't believe it.
The company that owns Death Battle, I think it was Screw Attack. Screw Attack is no more. Right. It's just the Death Battle company now. Because that's the thing. A lot of the old tenets of internet culture is no longer around. Like the stuff that I would used to go to for pop culture news is
Yeah.
no longer around, except for like maybe IGN. But even then, IGN mostly just has their articles on social media. You don't go to a website like IGN to look up news.
Yeah, I was stunned to see that the annoying orange is still a force on the internet. It's a little bit of like internet archaeology you have to do sometimes where yeah, I can't believe it's well, I mean like the Fred guy, like he sold I think
Oh
he
yeah, he
sold the
sold his
license of
channel.
Fred to
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And now he has like a
everyone.
vlog channel where he'll a travel vlog channel where him and his boyfriend just like go to like whatever random places to make content about.
When are you gonna get to that point where you sell Kaiju Noir as a website as a space for other advertisers to come on and talk
I mean,
about
hey,
robots?
if the price is right, I may be willing to do so. I
If
moved
you're
on to
willing
bigger
to
and
cut
bigger
a
and better
deal.
things.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Andres, have we upset our audience and ourselves enough for the year, do you think?
I think so. I think you know what? Let's have like every episode of Audio Synchronicity. Let's dedicate some time to some Q&A. So
Yeah.
for anyone in the chat still with us at this moment in time, whatever questions you'd like to ask us, feel free to speak now or forever hold your peace. Amen.
Forever hold your P's and Q's and A's.
A's.
Yes.
Let's see here. And yeah, we also have Sean Berry in the chat who joined
A
us.
lot.
Let's see. We desecrated quite a number of graves in
Right.
this episode.
Especially
Quite
Bob
figuratively.
Kane's.
Bob Kane's most especially. Let's see. And yes, I do agree. Breaking Bad is so good you can forgive the at times very clearly phonetically learned Spanish dialogue by some of its actors. Yes.
Does that upset you? Like, or are you versed enough in Spanish or not to not pick up on it?
I unfortunately cannot pick up on it, but I can
Okay.
definitely understand how other people can.
Yeah.
But like Gus, like his actor, I whose name I always forget.
Oh, Giancarlo Esposito.
Thank you very much. So
Yes.
Giancarlo Despacito, he's such a
Giancarlo Despacio.
John Jacob Jingleheimer
John Carter
Smith.
of Mars. Yes.
He's such an amazing actor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved him in Breaking Bad. I loved him in The Boys. He was great in
Mandalorian season 1.
Mandalorian. Fuck, he was great in Mandalorian. I even liked him in Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the anime series. He's really good. So like I can
He's kind of like those guys though, like especially if he's speaking Spanish, it's kind of like there's such a captivating force, kind of like Mads Mikkelsen, to where
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of all of his like Swedish films that he does. But when he's in an American film, his English isn't phenomenal, but he's still a captivating and great actor that like even if you miss every third word he's saying, I mean, he's still brilliant. He's great in that Hannibal series and in what Bond film is he in? Is he in Skyfall? Is that the one with him? Or he's in one of the newer Daniel Craig Bond movies. No, Casino Royale, I think he's in. I think that may be like what skyrocketed him to
Casino Royale, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, such a great actor that like he could be speaking Pig Latin and I'd still watch him. It's
yeah. So it's like one of those things where it's like unfortunately for the actors of Emilia Perez, they are no Giancarlo Esposito.
Right.
Let's see.
There's certainly no Bill Tabasco sauce.
No.
I'll tell you that.
Let me put it this way. SOS was more than just DBZ talk. Yes.
Oh, what would DBZ be? The Daisuke Brotherhood of Zilla would be that podcast.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see here. Question: what do I have in my pockets?
Oh my god, it could be anything. This is like $6 million question here, Andres.
I'm gonna guess it's a piece of candy.
I am going to say rocket ship. Is that a rocket in your pocket?
We'll see when JF returns.
Oh my
let's see. Sean said, "I'm ashamed to say I like the annoying orange when I was a kid."
Oh yeah, well, like I was, as I've mentioned many a times in private and on stream, like I'm a weird cross section for my parents' era of nostalgia and watching all of those movies and shows when I grew up, but also very much, a kid of the early 2000s to where like anything on the internet back then, I was like, this is groundbreaking. This is transcendent. This is breaking new grounds. And I look back on it, and, the Ray William Johnson shit, and I can't believe that anyone would watch that. I don't know.
Speaking of old shit, I loved it growing up. Ravioli, what's in the pocket Oli?
Yeah, the whole Newgrounds era of cartoons, like that kind of like passed me by. But I will say, some of Chad Vader holds up. Some of it. That's one thing that like some of it's okay. I'm a big fan of that channel though, because I want to give a shout out to Welcome to the Basement. Especially their earlier episodes. They're kind of like the optimistic thinking man's Red Letter Media in a way, where they have a show called Welcome to the Basement. Every episode, like the guy hosting the show who voiced Chad Vader brings his friend along to watch a movie he has never seen before, and they have a really fun spirited conversation about it. Sometimes there's the really awful movies, they're really great movies, but I would recommend for sure Welcome to the Basement to anybody. And they kind of have a following on their own where like, Chad Vader is sort of this nostalgic, quaint object of a time gone by, but they've, sort of lived on, I guess, with another series of their own.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trick question. I'm wearing pajamas with no pockets.
Son of a bitch. Well, I mean, pajamas ultimately can't have pockets. I'm a big fan of those pajamas with the butt pockets, that you see in cartoons. Yeah. Like, I don't know, I had a pair of Paddington Bear pajamas like that when I was young. Okay, a fun fact about Brayton. I had those pajamas when I was young. I grew out of them and then requested my mother knit me another pair of Paddington to fit me specifically. Aww. Because my original ones were footy pajamas. So it was like a thing where they were definitely going to have a life to them. But I got a red pair later on that weren't footy pajamas. And I mean, I could still be wearing those if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I may be wearing those right now.
Let's see here. Speaking of nostalgia, the original Transformers animated movie is turning 40 and getting a theatrical re-release, and the marketing is capitalizing on the trauma the film caused when it came out. Brayton, are you familiar with Transformers the movie, 1986?
Perez, I don't know shit about Transformers.
Do you know that they are robots that transform?
I've heard tell of this theory. Yes, I've heard that they roll out from time to time.
Yes. So Transformers, the movie, was the movie that famously killed off Optimus Prime, the most popular character in the series, leader of the Autobots, leader of the good guys, a beloved father-like figure to kids of the 80s.
Defender of the universe. That's the other
guy. They killed him off brutally in the movie. And a lot of kids supposedly were very traumatized by that, and the backlash was so big that they brought him back to life at the end of the series. And like Jesus Christ, and on the third season he rose again.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I feel like even though I'm sorry, but I feel like even Transformers is kind of in that area where He-Man is for me. Like I know it through memes and things of it being utilized. So that's kind of my understanding of it. I was not aware that this was such a pivotal traumatic incident. This was like Littlefoot's mom, but for boys, I guess, or something.
Yeah. This was like fucking like the horse from Neverending Story.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, so to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the movie, Hasbro is putting on this quote unquote Transformers the movie apology tour where they're like, hey kids, sorry for fucking traumatizing the shit out of you, but guess what? We're going to be celebrating the movie that traumatized you all those years ago. And they have the most beautiful poster ever, which I'm going to share right here on screen for the audience.
Well, I'm sorry, but when do we get the Michael Bay Transformers apology tour? I think fucking Shia LaBeouf has traumatized all of us in more ways than they're worth speaking of. That's going to be 20 years old next year.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
40 years later, it still hits like a truck.
Well, they're playing into it at least, and that's
you
nice.
know the funny thing is, this all gray Dead Prime, they have sold multiple toys of Dead Prime,
of Dead Optimus Prime. Oh, great!
Yeah, but they can't call him Dead Prime. They always call him like Sleep Mode Optimus Prime or Alternate Universe Optimus Prime. But we all know it's fucking Dead Prime from the fucking movie.
Well, this gives me hope, like, what, 80 years on to finally get my hands on a dead Bambi's mom plushie. Maybe that'll come
Yeah.
out soon. Who knows?
Let's see here. But yeah, wait, one last thing about Transformers the movie
Yes.
turning 40. I had back in the day, I had a DVD of the 20th anniversary of the Transformers movie. So it's crazy to think that that DVD celebrating the then 20th anniversary is now as old as the movie itself when the DVD came out.
Andres, you and I are going to have a Transformers night between the two of us. So all I know about
fuck
Transformers
yeah.
the movie is You Got the Touch and Orson Welles. And after that, I'm lost.
Oh, it's going to be a great day because well, you know what? Here's the thing. Like Transformers the movie, it's definitely not a good way to get into Transformers. Now, Transformers 1 from a couple years ago, that's a fantastic way to get into Transformers. So
Is that the animated series you were telling me about?
That was it's not a series, it's a movie. It's
It
an
is a
animated
movie.
movie
Okay.
that was horribly marketed, making people think that it was like for little kids, but it turned out to be like really spectacular. But it underperformed, and like we were talking about before about producers who are out of touch, they're like, "Oh, we should get Michael Bay back. That's clearly the
Yeah.
problem here."
I remember you telling me about it, and it's kind of like Fox and the Hound, but for Optimus Prime and Megatron, where they can't be
Yes.
friends anymore.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I mean that with all joyous sincerity, Brayton.
By the way, Fox and the Hound, generational trauma as well. I want those action figures. I want those figures.
Where's the apology tour for that one?
Lord knows, I don't know. I'm all about this Amelia Perez's apology tour is going to be happening in about a decade from now. Just wait. You got to let it linger for a while.
That's true. Let's see. This is a question for me. What are your thoughts on Toshiki Inoue's Showa Kamen Rider duology now that you've done the commentary in the movies? I feel like I've answered this question before, but I will say that doing the commentary has given me a much greater appreciation for those movies. And having seen almost all of the 2000s Kamen Rider shows, especially those done by Toshiki Inoue as the main writer, I definitely get a better sense of what he was trying to do with those movies. And I feel like they were definitely like limited in scope due to just like larger things that were outside of their control. But like I said, I have a much greater appreciation for the ideas, the concepts in the movies. I love their action to death. I love the leather biker aesthetic of the writers themselves.
Hey, who doesn't, pal?
Still the best modernized aesthetic of when you're modernizing the original Kamen Rider 1 and 2, and even V3, it's still the best look in my opinion, better than Shin Kamen Rider. But I would say Shin Kamen Rider is definitely the better remake, but these ones definitely have enough uniqueness to them that will always have a special place in my heart. Let's see here. Do you dislike Transformer figure scalpers as much as I do? Hell yes. Even though, like, as a casual collector of Transformers, yes, I do find it annoying when you're trying to buy something and all the I tried pre-ordering the new Age of the Primes, Transformers Armada Jetfire, and I'm sure that's a string of words that Brayton absolutely understood every one of them. But Armada Jetfire,
Samurai Pizza Cat.
Yeah.
Go through that category.
I almost lost my chance to pre-order that figure, but luckily I managed to find it at TF Source, a website I never used until now, just to get that damn toy.
Oh my god.
Let's see. Question: favorite Jackie Chan film? I'm going to be a basic bitch and say Rush Hour only because I have yet to really indulge in Jackie Chan's filmography.
Oh boy. Well, I don't know. My basic bitch answer would be it probably doesn't hold up. I'm sure it doesn't. But I was a big fan of his and Owen Wilson's version of Around the World in 80 Days when I was younger. So there's one for me. But I mean, any of his police story movies are a spectacle. Yeah, and I'm not a huge, I think I've mentioned this before, I'm not a martial arts film fan mostly because I kind of view them the same way I view like Elvis's movies, and that okay, we all know what this is being made for. We're just watching this so we can see you take your shirt off, and it's a power fantasy for you. Okay, so I'm not really sold on a lot of them unless it's for
you're not a shirt taker offer person, are you?
No, well, not me, but also not. I don't know. That's not my issue, unless it's Steven Seagal's later films, which thankfully he spared us. The Steven Seagal apology tour is
to disappoint you.
I feel like the Steven Seagal apology tour has been going on for the last 30 years. That's what he's doing. You loved those guitar videos I sent you, didn't you?
Yes.
Give me alligator ass. Yeah. But no, Andres, I would definitely recommend the first Police Story movie. That is the famous one where he takes the stunt inside of the mall where he slides down the ring of Christmas lights that are like 80 feet in the air. I'll say this too. This is controversial.
Yeah.
I didn't shed a tear when Chuck Norris died, mainly because as an individual, I think Jackie Chan is twice the man that Chuck Norris ever was, and he deserves the same amount of memes and ridiculous praise that Chuck Norris ever got, because Jackie Chan is the real shit. I just want to say he never did anything half-assed. He's the Buster Keaton of our times. Love him while he's still here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Transformers animated movie has its flaws, but it's a damn good time. Plus, it's got Orson Welles as a terrifying planet-sized transformer.
Yes, as a toy eating other toys, I've heard. Yes.
You've got the touch. You've got the power.
Optimus Prime death scene. The movie is no joke. Genuinely well done scene. Also got the original Sony DVD of Gigan. I have that one, actually. Yeah. Let's see. Want to know the best part of Optimus Prime's death in the movie happens in the first few minutes of the movie. Let's see. Optimus Prime death also affected the G.I. Joe movie. Duke was supposed to die, but they changed it so that he was in a coma.
G.I. Joe, another thing from that same time period that I feel like I only know through memes.
Cobra!
And I know Cobra Commander. I know Sergeant Slaughter. I know the live action film, which was an absolute flop and no one went to, right? No one. That didn't
it made a sequel, but also underperformed. Yeah, and now the last live action Transformers movie is attempting to restart G.I. Joe again, because at the end of the movie, the main human character is recruited into G.I. Joe.
Well, refresh me again. We'll do that after the stream. Refresh me again. Was G.I. Joe a toy or a show first?
It was a toy first. It was a toy back in during World War II.
That's right.
Yeah.
The old G.I. Joe action heroes. Which
G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe. Da, 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 da.
So that was kind of like a weird revived nostalgia property even then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really, I talked about this with my roommate Steve. It's very interesting that like I don't think we really have that much of like at least as a kid, I remember there would be lots of army toys, army soldiers, tanks, and whatnot.
The military industrial complex that starts out conversion therapy early. It's we're bombarded with it.
We have machines that make things go boom. Okay, that was good enough for us to captivate our little child brains. But I think these days, I feel like it's much harder to sell G.I. Joe as a concept because there's just not that much or I feel like there's more of a stigma against the idea of the military and war in general than there was, say, during the Reagan years.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, it's not when people actually come back from the war and you see what state they're in, all of that was hushed up, pre-television, civil rights movement and all of that sort of. Vietnam opened the floodgates for the condition our soldiers come back in.
Yeah.
There's certainly less. I mean, even like today, when I was in high school, seeing the recruiters even there, like it was stunning to me that like they're still sort of, with tin cup in hand wanting you to join up. It's strange. Not to put down anybody in the service, but it's a strange type of deal how it worked for so many years, just the absolute prevalent brainwashing of kids of how cool it is to blow up minorities in foreign lands, and you'll have your own theme song.
Terrorists. Yo, Joe. Let's see. Question. Speaking of nostalgic re-releases, have you seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? I think so, but not in a long time. What is
Yeah.
your exposure? What is your exposure with Hong Kong, Taiwanese, Chinese martial arts cinema? I think I saw Jet Li's Hero when it was released in theaters back in the day. I saw.
Does Kung Fu Hustle count? I don't know.
I've seen Kung Fu Hustle. I saw I Love Maria and Love on Delivery. Those both amazing masterpieces.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's very limited. Most of my knowledge in recent years has come from Davis's videos. Because I know,
Yeah.
like the last few years, he's been on a Hong Kong martial arts kick.
Yeah, for me, like it's a similar thing. Like I'm not a big martial arts person. Like I love Asian cinema, obviously, but I'm much more into like each like country's version of a crime story. Like like
Yeah,
Yakuza films are my favorite thing in the world. I think they do crime cinema far more than we, especially like the early 60s, like very colorful stuff I'm all into.
yeah.
But martial
Oh,
arts stuff like Shaw Brothers and that sort of thing, I don't know. I kind of like that. If I like that at all, it's sort of through the transitional lens of parody. I'm sorry to say, is
yeah.
sort of
Kung
where
Pao Enter the
Kung
Fist.
Pao Enter the Fist. Yes, the greatest
You will
cow
refer
fight
to
scene of all
me.
time.
You will refer to me by the name Betty.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like I liked Kill Bill, obviously, as sort of, and I'm
Mhm.
less and less of a Tarantino fan as I've gotten older, but like that was a huge sort of breakthrough movie for me where, that was my first exposure to any of that,
Mhm.
probably at a too young age, but I don't know. It's just, it's a blind spot for me. What can I say?
Yeah. Let's see. I did see Enter the Dragon. Thanks to
Oh, of
Dylan.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
see.
we did have a and I should say this too. We had a not too long ago a grindhouse sort of marathon at my theater here in town, the Last Picture House, great place.
Mhm.
So in 35 millimeter, we showed the first Bruce Lee film, which is The Big Boss, also known
Ah,
as Fist of Fury.
nice.
I think, yeah.
Cool.
Some
Let's
of those are
see.
good. Bruce Lee's okay.
Yeah.
He's a cool cat, as they say.
Let's see. Question. Did you hear the mini fiasco involving HasLab Robots in Disguise 2001 Omega Prime, where Optimus Prime's chest kept breaking? Yes, in fact, I own HasLab RID 2001 Omega Prime, and mine did not break, thankfully. To give some context, Brayton, because this is pretty wild. So every year, once a year, Hasbro would have like a sort of a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding campaign
Yeah.
to do a special specific toy that they're not going to sell at retail, but only give out to those who donate money to the campaign. So basically, it's sort of like a made to order pre-order system, essentially. If they
Uh,
Because they know that this is specifically for a niche object, for a niche item for fans, and
yeah.
something that's not really going to sell well at retail. So people put in like $200 for this very specific version of Optimus Prime from a 2001 anime that has its fans but isn't really all that nostalgic or beloved. So
Mhm.
I grew up with that 2001 version. I put in my money, and people waited a year for it to come out, and people started having QC issues with it, where
Oh boy, it
transforming
broke
it
immediately out of
actively
the
breaks it.
box.
It does. You literally it breaks when you transform it because one of the parts is too large and it's being squeezed inside the chest cavity, causing the piece to break altogether.
And with a
So
limited production of them, I'm sure there wasn't a thing where you could get a refund on that or get a.
exactly.
Oh my god.
So it took them like a good like 3 or 4 months to finally hear back from Hasbro when this started becoming a widespread issue. And
Yeah.
eventually they're like, "Hey, if you don't have to turn in your old toy, just show us proof that your toy's broken and we'll send you an extra Optimus Prime for free." Um, and even then, people looked at to see what they did, and all they did was they just took like Hasbro folks just took like a filer. They just filed down that piece that was too big, rather than recreate the piece from scratch, but make it smaller and more better fitting. So they just took the cheapest way possible to fix it by physically filing down that one little piece that was too big.
I always find like the proof of problem things and you'll get something in return funny. I think I
Yeah,
told you about this when it happened, Andres, but when Criterion put out at long last their version of Citizen Kane on
yeah.
Criterion, there was a huge debacle around that. It was for the 4K Ultra HD release of it, where the I can't remember if it was the 4K or the 1080p version of the disc wouldn't
Mhm.
play, or there was some major issue about it, to where their remedy for that was you had to destroy the disc, send them evidence that you destroyed it, and then they would send you a new
Oh,
one in return. Which at one point is like that is so a weird kind of heresy going on. But
yeah.
two, what I found great was people got creative with it, and there was like one guy who made a short film parodying the end of Citizen Kane. Like, throw that junk in there, and they threw their disc into a fire. So I always find that amusing. Like the proof, you have to have a proof of
Yeah,
destruction for your refund. Um,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yours is
Uh,
still holding up though. Your Optimus
yes, it
Prime
is.
fellow. Yeah,
Yes, hasn't
good.
broken. Let's
Good.
see. Interesting question. What is your stance on the current state of film analysis and reviews on YouTube? I very much so like them. I don't watch modern, like I rarely go to the theaters. Like very rarely does a new movies get my attention all that much.
Yeah.
But whenever I see people making like video essays and like doing certain films or retrospectives, I'm always into that. I'm always very curious about seeing what sort of like modern day lenses people use to look back at certain movies. There was this one movie made, or one video made on Batman Forever, and
Yeah.
just like highlighting what an underrated gem it was and how Joel Schumacher's original intended cut of the movie could have been so much better without Warner Brothers interference. But
Yeah.
that was definitely really shine light on a movie that just isn't talked about and enough. But yeah, I would say in terms of like the video essay kind side of things, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, like anything, there's a lot of hot air out there, especially with a. What I hate with video, because I love video essays, but what I hate is the influx of AI essays now, where one you can
Mm,
tell it was written by AI, but they use the standard AI 11 Labs voice or whatever to read the
yeah.
entire video,
Did
and
you
like I
know that in the 1930s there was this
yes,
movie that was being made?
and they're all awkwardly worded too, where it's like I think we were talking about this in one of our last audio synchronicities, where at that point, if you want to use AI for simple tasks of like translating things or audio fixing, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like you can't even form your own thoughts about like a piece of entertainment and just make a video, record yourself
Hey,
with your
it
phone.
ain't about the art, it's about the hustle.
It's just so low effort but of an enterprise. I don't get it. But anyway, there are a lot of great ones out there. I love the channel Eyebrow Cinema, who I think is another fellow Canadian guy. I would
Mhm,
recommend his channel. Um, yeah, that's the only part that bothers me is just the slop, as they call it out there.
mhm.
And it's indistinguishable by a thumbnail from everything else. So like I have to wait for like 30 seconds into the video, I start hearing the uncanny audio valley, and I'm like, fuck this. But yeah, there are a lot of great ones, a lot of bad ones. Find a guy that you like and then support them, because actual film analysis on YouTube is an important thing and worthy of discussion. One thing about, like you said, you don't go to theaters. I since I happen to be employed at a theater, I do see a lot more
Mhm,
modern movies than I have
mm,
been the last couple of years. But one thing I've talked to Sean about in private that I guess I do kind of feel bad about is like my physical media library is sort of has sort of plateaued, mainly because I've kind of put a financial self-preservation holder on me of not buying things I have multiple copies of,
mhm.
which is hard. But I guess that's sort of the collector's mindset of, you have to think about your wallet at a certain point. And, I'd love to get the 4K UHD version of this movie or that movie that comes out, but I already have it on like 3 different formats. I don't need another one. So like I feel guilty about taking the David route, and that I do bootleg a lot of stuff nowadays, but I make sure that I own what I'm bootlegging already. So I've paid my way for it in some respect. Um, the recent movies though, Andres, that you might like is have you heard tell or the buzz around Project Hail Mary?
Yeah. I know our friend Will had seen it and he highly recommended it.
It's fabulous, man. And as like I'm not necessarily a huge Ryan Gosling fan to begin with, but
Mhm.
like over the last couple of years, I think he's a brilliant comedic actor. Like one of the like
Mm,
he's kind of like the modern Cary Grant in that
yeah.
he's, visually, like physically, he's a god, he's an Adonis and whatever, he's a specimen. But like he's not afraid to make himself look like an absolute idiot in a movie, and he's great at
Yeah.
it. Barbie, there's a movie called the Shane Black movie, The Nice Guys, which I'm a big fan of.
Mhm.
And this movie, he's a buffoon a lot of the times, but also a very solid, emotional actor. And how I would describe that movie is it's like a grown-ups live action Pixar film. It touches all those
Oh.
same emotional beats.
Yeah.
And a great triumph for practical effects with the rock puppet. So would recommend that one for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Question: have you played any Star Wars games? Let's
Oh
see.
boy.
I played the Star Wars the Star Wars trilogy arcade game at Chuck E. Cheese back in the day. I played.
That's it. That gave me my fill.
Hey, that was the shit back then, Brayton. That and SWAT cats.
Oh my god, you're a whole nother generation, you old fart.
Let's see. I played a lot of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on the N64.
Yeah.
I played a bit of Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the N64. Let's see. What else? Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Of course. Yes.
Which was like Lego Star Wars episodes 1 through 6. I played the shit out of that game.
Yeah.
Brought me so much joy.
Well,
Back
I
in the
don't
day.
understand why the first Lego Star Wars movie was the prequels. Like, why would you start with that?
Because episode 3 was coming out that same year.
Well, that makes sense. Okay.
So they wanted to capitalize on, hey, the prequels are like the hot new thing right now.
Yeah.
And then they made episodes what was it, the original trilogy,
Yeah.
and then Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, and then Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, which nobody gave a fuck about. And now there is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which is basically all 9 movies, but they completely redid the levels for all the older movies and graphics and gameplay and voice acting and all that much. But
well, that's
apparently
not fun. I don't want my Lego people to talk. I want them to have the Ooga Bobba voices, the Sims voices when they speak.
They started talking from Lego Batman 2 onwards. So
boo.
yeah,
I don't like that. I don't.
yeah. So yeah, I would say Lego Star Wars is definitely like the most I ever got involved in a Lego game. I hear Jedi Fallen Knight or Jedi Fallen Order was really good. I remember people liked Star Wars: The Force Unleashed back in the day.
That was my generation kind of coming. Like I hate to say, I guess Star Wars games are the ones I am most sort of slavishly sort of devoted to for the longest time. I Lego Star Wars episode 3, as I mentioned earlier. The second Battlefront game on PS2 I played. The both Force Unleashed games. I remember playing the second one right after I had my appendix taken out. Not to be gruesome, but I remember that vividly because I was laid up in bed, sort of half in a daze playing that video game, and it wasn't as great as the first one.
Oh yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that.
But yeah, I never beyond that, I don't know anything about these more recent ones. The what is it, Fallen Order or whatever?
I think that was the way it was called.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. Where does he get those wonderful toys? The answer, bigbadtoystore.com. Or no, to quote Jobby the Hong, at the bigbadtoystore.com.
I don't know about you. Like when I was younger and I was asking my parents to buy me Godzilla toys off the internet when I was a little child, there was one. I guess I didn't figure out eBay yet.
Toy Wiz?
No, there was a site called temptingtoys.net, I think, which was like, I think they were based in Hawaii or something.
I think you were tempting fate at that point.
I was, because this is like one of the first times in my life I ever saw breasts. There was I would type in temptingtoys.com instead of temptingtoys.net, which led you to another popular toy site that people would be tempted to buy toys for other reasons.
Oh,
The Godzilla
no.
fleshlight was available there, I believe. So that was
Oh, you poor innocent child.
yeah, that was one of my first like traumatic moments of having to pull up the site by myself at like age 7 or something, 6 or 7, and then having my mom in the same room with me while I pulled up at an adult gag site on online. That was great.
And
Yeah,
you share that on the internet for everyone to hear.
I just admitted that to everybody. You're never gonna look at me the same way again. All of the faith and dignity that I had before tonight. It's secret revelation night, is what this
It
is.
was an understandable mistake, my friend.
Hey, you came off the bat talking about your magic box that people grab.
Let's see. Last question of the night. Brayton,
Okay.
can you tame Lee
Lee
Byung-hun?
who, for people who don't know, is the star of the most recent film, No Other Choice, but also the I don't think I did see Squid Game season 2, and he's in that as well. He's the villain guy in Squid Games behind the black mask. A very, very attractive man. And I'd be too intimidated. I crumble under like romantic pressure. I mean, that's why Andres and I have to be separated by StreamYard. Is that, I mean, I've seen him sleep. I've watched him sleep in our rendezvous at G Fest, and
this is why he won't hug me, folks.
Nope. Sounds come out of this man when he's in REM sleep that I can't believe come out of a human being, and it's just it's unearthly.
Let's see. And just a bonus, My Hero Academia's anime has now finally ended along with the OVA. Thoughts? I fell behind My Hero Academia after season 3, so I really need to catch the fuck up.
I was forced, but in a good, because I enjoyed it, by my friend to watch the first season of the show.
Nice.
Is it a thing like One Piece though, where there are 6 million episodes that I would have to catch up on? Okay, good.
Let me actually look up, because My Hero Academia was like part of that new generation of anime, of shonen anime, where they weren't going like every year round. They actually stuck to a seasonal format, like the rest of the world, like actual
like how you're supposed to do it,
like actual reasonable human beings. Yeah, the reason why Dragon Ball has like or One Piece have 1 million episodes is because they they never stopped. It's like it has to stay on the air every single week all year round. And if it ever caught up to the manga, we'll pad the shit out of the story so the manga can stay ahead of us. But no, My Hero Academia never had that problem. They would have a few filler episodes, but that's just to say like, oh, you know what? We're going to stop right here at the manga, but we got enough budget to fill out like 1 more episode, so that can be like a bonus.
Yeah, no, I like the All Might, I think is his name, where he has like 2 forms. The first form is really scrawny and kind of looks like me. It looks like a crackhead kind of, but then he turns into this giant like parody of a superhero with phenomenal pecs and muscles. I
Never
think,
fear, because I am here.
Yeah, I vividly remember the last episode I watched was like the good guys and the come through or the bad guys come through a portal and like do battle with the students and like the professors or whatever.
Yeah.
I was really into it. So that's something that, I have to sort of be nudged to find new things that I like. And I'm not an anime person, broadly speaking, but that's something that once I actually bit into the forbidden apple, I kind of enjoyed. I think though the girth, like just the length of all of these animes sort of put me off from enjoying them. And I think I relate that to my same trepidation about ever watching Ultraman or Kamen Rider or anything when I was younger and really into it.
It's always 50
I don't know where to start.
A season. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like
that's reasonable.
Yeah, because like there's some sort of connective tissue between all the Ultraman shows, and I did watch the original Ultraman when I was younger and liked it back then. I just haven't, gone past that. Though I will say on the Super Raya front, I don't know if you're aware of these shows, Andres, because they're kind of lost and have never had official English subtitles for them. I've been watching them through fan sub sites. But earlier in the year, I watched some episodes of Ultra Q, really liked that, and that spun me off into discovering 2 other short-lived Subaraya shows called Project Mystery and another one called like Horror Theater of the Unbalanced or something,
Interesting.
like, if people want to call Ultra Q kind of Japanese Twilight Zone, those are really Japanese Twilight Zone because they're just like
Ah.
fantastical. First off, Project Mystery is very much like Ultra Q, where it's like, a new supernatural occurrence happens week to week, and a team has to figure out why the fuck this is happening. Like, why is there a ghost car that gets into crashes all the time and kills people? Why is there this woman who emerged from a painting and is murdering people in this office space? There's sort of more of just week to week paranormal stories. And the Horror Theater of the Unbalanced is just like an anthology horror show. But both produced by the Tsuburaya company that hopefully gets a release properly stateside, because I was completely unaware of their existence until like a year ago.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. And watching them with fan subs is always it's always difficult, because it's, no matter how good the translation is, it's always somewhat broken English where you miss out on things and you have to go back. And yeah, I guess they have some sort of Blu-ray release over in Japan, because the prints I've seen have been beautiful. But it's just a thing not popular enough, or hasn't made its way over stateside yet to be for there to be a market for it, I guess. I don't know.
Cool. And by the way, I checked My Hero Academia. There are 8 seasons with 170 episodes total.
Oh, okay. Well, that's doable. Oh, one thing that may make you happy too. I watched the entirety of Cowboy Bebop.
Yay!
And I'm in love with Faye Valentine. I'm cosplaying as her.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking animated or
animated,
Netflix
not live action?
Okay, thank God.
Okay. Yes. The
All
real
right.
shit, man. Yeah.
The real shit. The good shit. The only shit.
It's a beautiful show. Deserving of all the praise.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone from our generation eventually watches Cowboy Bebop.
It's like a rite of passage, I think,
Oh yeah. It's also very interesting that like nobody in Japan knows about it.
Oh, is that true?
Oh yeah,
Really?
it was a huge flop in Japan. It found its audience in America.
Oh, that's kind of incredible. I know the same guy. He did a Space Dandy, and then there's one that I'm really interested in, Samurai Champloo, which is kind of hip hop samurais, which I want to check that out as well.
Me too. I still need to check out those other 2 shows.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome then. So I think that is about it for the 2026 edition of Audio Synchronicity. Thank you very much, everybody who came in tonight, and thank you, everyone who may watch this episode in the days, weeks, months, hell, even years to come.
Oh my God, it's our digital footprint, Andres. If the social network taught us everything, it's that the internet is written in ink, and all of these mad ramblings of ours will be used against us when the whip comes down.
In that case, having done 100 episodes of The Sons of Serizawa, I am fully ready for the day my past comes back to haunt me. So, like,
or your C-SPAN when you're brought ahead of Congress and asked to testify for why did you say these things? Why did you say them in public? I thought I was safe with my 4 friends in different sides of the country. I was only following orders.
I didn't have a reputation to lose, Judge, Your Honor.
Andres, since I know this is sort of a rarer and rarer thing that we get together for situations like this, I have to say that I have no regrets whatsoever, and just want to thank you again for, I know this has been such an on and off again series, but 8 years ago when we decided that we would even start Audio Synchronicity, that you invited me onto your channel, and there's never been a dull moment in all of those 8 on and off again years. And we took a break for a couple of years, came back to it, and it's an enjoyable thing to do. It's safe. It's a safe space for us now. But yeah, it's an enjoyable thing to come back to on our own terms and on our own schedule. And I'm just, I was happy to be ever invited to do it with you.
I'm deeply happy to hear that, man. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure being able to talk to you about anything and everything under the sun for
all
a
at
couple of hours, all at once. See, only this sort of thing I can only ever get out of Audio and Synchronicity. I'm glad it still exists 8 years later in some way, shape, or form to this very day.
And now we slumber for another 12 months, which I'm all about.
Absolutely. Let's see. Anything to promote on your end before we head off into the night?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, every time we do, I think it's been 2 years in a row, I'm saying, I have a podcast coming on my own terms called the Movie Book Club, which I host with, we have 3 episodes in the can, 4 technically, with Patrick Galvin and Enshoma. That'll be coming on my channel and Spotify and platforms some goddamn day when I can get to it. Andres and I also have many projects on the back burner. I have a really exciting project that I don't think I can talk about publicly to save face unless it fails.
Oh,
miserably.
yeah, that project.
But when that happens, I am going to shill my wares much like you do for Draco Azul.
You will soon learn the ways of the shilling, my friend.
Yes. And God, what else? On my channel, I hit 1,000 subscribers a couple months ago. I'm doing like a kind of channeling my inner David without the bad bits by doing sort of reconstructions of MST3K episodes, of putting the silhouettes over widescreen HD copies of whatever film was being lampooned that week. Needed for that are HD versions of whatever film they ripped back then, but I have one up, which is of the caveman epic called Ega, and I'm doing another fan edit for an episode they did of what's the English version? Sword and the Dragon is what it's called, which is a Russian fantasy movie, which is beautiful in HD in Blu-ray quality. So that's a fun little side hustle on the channel currently. But when things happen, I'll be sure to talk about them. You may have to pull it out of me, but I'll talk. I'll squeal for the feds one way or another.
And like I mentioned before at the start of the show, I will be at Kaiju Brooklyn. This coming weekend, I will be at table W29 along with Creature Preacher. We'll be sharing a table next to TJ Storm in the Artist Alley there, so look forward to that. There, I will be debuting my Draco Azul Pogs, which I'll be giving out for free, one for each item, Draco Azul item that you purchase at our table, and they'll be given at random. Let's see. You can also look forward to seeing copies of Davis's new giant robot Greek mythology book series, Titanius. We have special Kaiju Brooklyn edition versions of book 2, along with copies of book 1 and a few plushies also being sold at the table. And also look forward to G-Fest, where I will be debuting physical copies of Primal Warrior Draco Azul Gaiden Hellfire, which you can read in its entirety for free on Webtoon. However, if you like to support the book and like to have a lot of awesome bonus artwork along with it, you can purchase the 82-page graphic novel version that we will be selling at G-Fest. So look forward to all of that.
Andres Perez will personally lick the cover of the book, giving you his DNA, making it 10 times more valuable.
Absolutely, but your travel and accommodations will not be provided.
No. Will you give them a hug?
I will give them a firm handshake.
Okay. And a nodding acknowledgement.
Exactly. So that does it for this installment of Audio Synchronicity. I will play us out with our good old theme song. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. And anytime that we happen to do these impromptu live streams, your support means the absolute world to me and my friends. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I've been Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir.
And what the hell does stay synchronized mean? Or no, you are now synchronized. I'm Brayton.
It means a lot of good things to come.
Happy days are here again.
Because your audio has been synchronized.
Pulsing out from the transmitter tower into the tubes and coils behind your radio dial, it's like a welcome knock on the door and the sound of the familiar voice of an old friend.
Audio.
Synchronicity.
Life.
You really mean that? Yes.
Monsters exist.
Yes. Yes, always.
I didn't ask for this.
America's favorite breakfast-themed superhero, Waffle Man.
Your friend. This is a lot of shit, you know.
Invite your contract.
Such pests.
I'm ready now. Roll the camera.
Now, what is it you want? In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want?
You are now synchronized.